Welcome to Turned Out a Punk. I'm your host, Damian Abraham, and today on the show, a long-time friend of mine from the band Homefront, from the band No Problem, from the band Wednesday Night Heroes, Graeme MacKinnon is on the show today, and oh my gosh, is this a fun conversation. Graeme is here, of course, because his fantastic band Homefront has put out, dare I say, one of, if not the records of the year, Watch It Die, which is now available on the fantastic label run by my long time pal Paco, La Vida es un mus discos, and you can pick up that record wherever you get your records. As I say, it's streaming now. You can still order it on vinyl. If you're unfamiliar with Homefront, get ready, because this band has been putting out fantastic records for the last few years. And as I say, I've known Graeme for a very long time. He's always been in great bands, but my gosh, if Homefront is not on a different level, I'm not just blowing smoke. One of my favorite bands going right now. You can see Homefront on tour if you live in certain cities on the West Coast, or if you live in Edmonton, their hometown, or I think they've got a Calgary show. I'll have links to all this down below in the description for the show, but you can also find this stuff on Homefront's Bandcamp and on social media and all those places as well. Yeah, check out this band. If you're not familiar with them, you are in for a treat. I can't say enough good things about them as people or them as a band. So, and Graeme is a friend too. I've had some great adventures with Graeme, as you'll hear us talk about in a second. He is one of my favorite people to talk to, and I'm sure he'll be one of your favorite people to listen to talk in a second. So I'm not going to ramble on anymore. Check out this Homefront record. See him on tour. See him live. They're unbelievable live. And that's it. All right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Graeme MacKinnon on Turned Out a Punk. Graeme, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, buddy, thank you for having me. I've been waiting for. I've just waiting in the basement, just like, when the hell is Damian gonna give me a call? Give me a shot, man.
Well, that's not 100% true, because last time I saw you in Edmonton, we talked about doing it, and
That's
then I
right.
just think we've had a hard time getting it together, and also because I think I've known that this is probably going to be an episode that goes super deep, because as we were just talking off air, I've known you now for like years and years and years, and
Probably since 2002, 2003, probably.
I guess like it was probably through
Like,
Pete at Hits and Misses that I first
yeah.
started hearing about you, and just being
Well,
him
I,
being
I
like,
met Jonah. I would have met Jonah in like either 03, maybe 02, 03. I think Wednesday Night Heroes played with Career Suicide at the Cathedral, with like when Riot 99 were like the kings of Toronto, and and I remember at that time, like the bands that were really getting exciting, like Toronto was just like on the verge of exploding, because it was like Fucked Up was like, those singles were coming out. Career Suicide was just like, like, I was obsessed with Career Suicide, and like Brutal Nights were so good, and like Bayonets, and there were just like, there was like a lot of cool bands coming out of your scene. Like, it was mental at the time. Like, I was just like, and there were so many kids at shows. Like, it would be like a local show would have like 400, 500 kids in Toronto. Like, Ride 99 would play Cathedral. I'd be like, holy shit, are they like Kiss? Like, what is going on?
it was a cool moment, because it felt like, yeah, they're like kids were almost more excited about the local bands than they
Yeah.
were on touring bands for like a moment there. And I feel like that was like a cool moment in general for
I
music and
mean,
pop culture.
that's also like easy to be when, like I said, like the heavy hitters in Canada at the time were all in. I felt like Toronto, Montreal was really good too, but Toronto, just like the records that were coming out of there at that time were so good. Like, those Fucked Up singles, like, I just remember like hearing Police for the first time and just being like, the fuck is this? This is made in Canada? Like, I was just like, well, I was like, I didn't know John Brannon was a guy from Toronto. Like,
Well, that is
like,
high praise, man, because I feel like, well, I was just about to say this to you off air, but like, to know you through all these different bands, and all your bands have been awesome. But I remember like the first time I heard Homefront before I even saw you guys live, I was like, fuck, Graham's done it. Like
Thanks.
this is like the perfect combination of all the stuff you and me talk about, the stuff you're
Yeah,
into, like not just the 80s hardcore stuff, but like you and me bonding over like weird minimal synth records and
totally,
Canadian synth stuff, and like,
totally.
and just to see you do this, and then like, we've talked about it ever since the band started. Like, I'm just like, I knew the world would get it because like the
Hmm.
records are so good. And so, and then live, you're like, there's few people I fear going on after more than having to play after you, because I know my energy level will will not even at my max peak sleep schedule and cannabis intake being observed. I will not be able to match your energy.
Oh man, but there was also like, I mean, playing before, or like I couldn't even imagine playing after a fucked up set. Like the amount of like punishment people's brains get in one of your sets. It's like you got three guitars doing fucking all this shit. Drums are, I'm like, what the fuck is going? And then kids are stage diving and stuff. And like, yeah, it's always been, like for me, it's just like, yeah, talking to peers, talking to like longtime friends. It's just like this is fucking sick. So I really accept that compliment. It was like coming from you guys is like big high praise. Like, because like I said, like from where when we were kind of going up, and like the early 2000s was such an interesting time because like I was more involved in like kind of like street punk kind of world, but I know like my brother and I, we were always like, oh man, like we were like, listen, we always liked so much, like we'd be listening to, like Crucifix and like Jerry's Kids just as much as we'd be listening to like GBH and like Peter and Test Tube Babies or something like that. But I remember at that time, like yeah, like Career Suicide, like even a little bit after that was like Government Warning, and then all those records started coming out, and it was like such an exciting time. Like Double Negative was like that first Double Negative record kicked so much ass. It was just like, and they sounded like they were from the 80s, like a lot of the records, like the production. So it was always like such a, like that was such a crazy time, and like, and there was such an infrastructure for it. Like every city had like one or two bands, and like we were a street punk band, I guess, in those terms, but we did cross over into like playing with a lot of like, like the like Under Pressure or something like that from Winnipeg, or like, like yeah, Career Suicide, or Inepsy. Inepsy was another one of those bands from that time that you're just like, it's fucking crazy, like how this shit is just like, so and I'm not saying that like now it's, there's actually seems to be at this point in time, there's actually a lot of bands that are now feeling very exciting again, like new bands that are in the underground that are just like, wow, this is fucking cool. Like if Baton Arme was around and like when Knuckle Dragging Oi was like king, they would have been like superstars, like because there's interesting and they have cool rhythms and their aesthetic is cool and their stage show is fucking mental. So it's, or like a band like Puffer, who, you guys brought out on tour last year. There's another band that's just like, man, where were you guys if you were around in that time? It would just like, be such a another breath of fresh air, kind of like. So yeah, I guess it's interesting, like thinking about our friendship going from those early 2000s to now, and like going through all these different, and like watching Fucked Up change how much, like you guys have gone through it all, right? Like, and yet we're still hanging, we're still
Still
fucking
hanging.
talking.
So
They were still, I think we're still talking about the same jokes that we were like 20 years ago. So
yeah, I've had some of my greatest record adventures in my life with you.
yeah.
Um, and like some of my favorite music combos and just hangs in general on tour.
Oh yeah, man.
But you're actually the third person in your family that I met.
That's right.
I met Sandy first,
Mm-hmm.
with 10 Second Epic when they were
Mm-hmm.
in Toronto one time. I hung out at like a Much Music weird party with them and just
Yeah.
totally broke down with him. And then I met
Which
your
is funny because Sandy was like, he always, he's like, yeah, Damian came up to me. He's like, Age of Quarrel or Best Wishes. And Sandy was like, that's tough. He's like, I
I
remember that was like the first conversation you guys had, and you told me about that. I'm like, well, what'd you say? Age of Quarrel and Best Wishes.
I think Alexa on Fire started bringing me around more George than anyone else in
Yeah.
the band, and I must have been like a social hand grenade for him, like just pulling the trigger and just being like, "What the fuck's this guy gonna do?" I remember picking a fight with the lead singer, like not a physical fight, but like certainly a heated argument where I'm screaming at him with the guy from
Nice.
Bedouin Sound Clash because he said the
Oh
Bad
yeah.
Brains weren't that talented musically, and
Okay,
it just
that's a bold. That's a hot take.
it set me off, but like
I,
in a very inappropriate level of anger that I was
I'd be like, what are you talking about?
I was yelling at Adam at the time. But then I met the first time we came to Edmonton to play,
Yeah,
you guys were away because that's the thing. Wednesday Night Heroes
we were on
toured
tour a lot.
a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. And so you guys, you were back at, actually, funny enough, you guys played that at Teddy's. It was like a Edmonton, like it was like a pub that was like downtown, and like a lot of my pals, they were all at that show, and they said it was just like insanity because it looked like, from what I saw, like the way that bar is situated, it's not really a spot for. It looked like it was like a like bookcases and shit.
It was
Like,
very weird. We played on the floor,
mhm.
got into a bit of a disagreement with the promoter about payment at the end.
Classic.
It,
And
and
then
not the thing that fucked up did. And then we met one of the most like that's the thing. Edmonton for people like I don't think people realize like what a punk rock mecca Edmonton is going back to like the Modern Minds, Rock and Roll
yeah,
Bitches, Nerve era, right? Like there's always wild records there, like crazy fucking
yeah,
records in Edmonton. And so we hung out. What's the guy's? I'm blanking on his name now. The guy who.
yeah. Well, like maybe yeah, like he's got many names,
Okay,
so
maybe we shouldn't actually
but
say his name then.
but we can say a certain guy from the record shop that was in Edmonton at the time. They put you up at the house, and I heard Jonah told me the funniest story. Like they walked in, and I remember like Jonah was like, "Yeah, so what are you up to? Like what do you do for a living?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a pro golfer." Or
I'm a pro
something. There was like
golfer.
some story, there was some story where he told Jonah he was a pro golfer. Jonah told it again, and I was like fucking dying laughing. And like he's like, "Yeah, how do you like have this house, like this crazy house?" And like, yeah, like I don't want to get too into all that shit, but like I remember that you guys stayed there, and I think he took you all over the outskirts of the city to get home
He got
to
lost on
to
the
this.
way to his house,
Yeah,
and
I know.
he like I'll beep his name and beep all the information here. But yeah, it was one of those situations where we're like, hey, if anyone's got a place for us to stay tonight, we're looking for somewhere to crash. And of course, the drunkest guy at the whole show, who's
With
just
no shirt on.
no shirt, who's been a menace throughout the.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy who's like, I got a place for you guys to crash. So we're like, what is this going to be like? Drive to the middle of a suburban subdivision. We thought we were breaking into someone's house because it's like a mini
Yeah.
mansion, right? And we're like breaking in basically.
So funny thing, okay, so like the record store, like they had this like back room, right? And they had shows in there. We used to just call it the vomitorium because it had like a rug in there, and like people would get so drunk in this room and just like puke all over the place. Like it was fucking madness. But the shows were like if a fire went off, that would burn up the whole like Edmonton scene at the time, it was just like this death trap. But anyway, those guys used to, they had like a screen, they would screen T-shirts and stuff. He still does that actually out in Vancouver. Um, but they were like screening shirts and stuff like that. And a good friend of mine, Madeline, who used to play in a band called the Homewreckers from Edmonton, they were like she would like help with like website stuff or whatever, like back in like 2006 when everyone had like a .org or something. Like my like Facebook or MySpace was just like blowing up, and like so anyway, she remembers this one day she was at work and she told me the story, and it fucking just sums these guys up. He's leading a tour from like the community college. Like we have a technical college there, and they have like a screen printing program there. So like students are like learning how to screen print. So all of a sudden they're at this like D beat hellhole with fucking walking them into the back room, and she's just like looks out and she's like, why are there all these kids in this like thing? And he's like talking about his like screen printing setup and blah blah blah. So he takes this class and she's just like laughing to herself, right? So he takes this class into the vomitorium room, like the show space part, and they're in there, and she's like working on her computer, and she hears drums going. Like she's like, "What the hell is going on? I got to see what's going on." So she goes and she peeks into the vomitorium, and there's all these kids from this like technical college watching without a shirt on, fucking playing like D beats on a drum kit in front of them. And like like that's just like the kind of like wild shit that this guy was like. I love him, like he's a fucking beauty, but he that's totally like does not surprise me that he'd be shirtless and then he'd be like, yep, fucked up, you're staying at my house, I don't know how to get home, it's gonna be sick.
It was
But
amazing.
like
He's like, we're standing around with him in the kitchen, and he's like, I want to make margaritas. And then he's like, bros out like he's like looking through. He's got tequila, but nothing else to make margaritas. He's like, fuck, you know what I need to do? We can't drink. Or it makes Jonah some sort of margarita with just tequila and lime juice. He's like, wait, don't fucking drink it. There's no Sprite. You can't have a fucking margarita without Sprite. And Jonah's like, oh, it's fine. And he's like, no, give me the keys to your van. I'm gonna go to the store. We're like, there's no fucking way. He's like, well,
perfect.
I can't take my car. I've got a suspended license. And we're like, oh, then we're just fine. And the next thing we know, he's peeling out on a motorcycle somehow, and then comes back with a Lunchable and a 2 liter thing of Sprite. At which point I'm like, yo, Jonah, peace. I'm going to sleep. You're gonna have to jump on this grenade, my friend.
So that's how Jonah tells the story to me. He said that like eventually he shows up, he's fucking blasting trash, and like everyone's like, Jonah, this is yours.
Yeah.
You deal with this tonight.
Yeah.
And like that just fucking made me howl, like, because like, man, like he like first of all, like that all of that stuff is very Edmonton. Like it'd be like, oh buddy, it's not drinking and driving if you take the back roads to the to the liquor store down the street. That's not a big deal. Like so just give me your keys. I'll be gone for like 5 minutes. Like what's the big deal? It's like you come home, there's like a fence wrapped underneath the grill. You're like, oh yeah, that's he made it in time, no problem. It's like, buddy, I'm totally fucking good to drive, man. I'm totally good. Just give me your keys. I'll get the Sprite, man. We'll fucking have great mergs when I get back.
it's it's like, like obviously culturally very different then, but
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton to me is almost like Austin in
Yeah.
that like everything around it is kind of antagonistic almost to the
Oh yeah.
amazing art stuff that happens within the city.
Yeah. I would say that's 100% accurate. Like definitely, and we used to, like Calgary has that element as well. Like Calgary definitely has like a lot of cowboys and rednecks just as much as we do. But it almost seems like there was always like more of like a future if you were live there. Like you kind of like you're like whatever, just grind through, and then yeah, I'll go to college and I'll get a job and blah blah blah. Edmonton at certain times just seemed like, what do we got? Let's just fucking we're gonna go toe to toe with all these like redneck guys, and that's gonna be like we're just gonna that's just gonna be our thing. Like that was the future plan, like so yeah, it's definitely like I think about like being a little kid and like yeah, even just like weird shit. Like you'd be like 14 or 15 years old at a DOA show or something like that, and you're walking home and you don't even look that crazy. Like to me, what I would think looks crazy. I mean, I might have had like at that time, like I would have wore like my dad's work shirt or like had my hair was long or something like that. And like guys be like, you fucking, F word, this, and like throw beer cans at you. And you're like grown men with like lunch kits coming to the show and punching kids in the face, and you're like, dude, you have like a job, like we are like you literally have like a steel lunch kit, like and we are just like dumb fucking kids, like so yeah, that's definitely I think maybe that's also kind of where Edmonton kind of like people from Edmonton have developed such a crazy sense of humor too, just to kind of like roll with all that kind of madness. So you're just kind of like, okay, here we go. Here's another dude. Like you're at like a convenience store and someone just starts like, has to push by you to get to the pickled egg jar, and
Yeah.
it's just like, you're just going to get into it with this person. Like, 'cause that was just the way it was at that time. Now things are a little bit more chill, except for like social disorder, like real like problems that are like happening. But like,
That's
yeah,
everywhere now. So it's
everywhere. Yeah. And it's like definitely Canada has done such a wonderful job of not acknowledging that it's happening. So it's like just keeps getting worse, So yeah, I don't know. Fucking Edmonton, beauty town, eh, boys?
well, yeah, because like the Mark Balke told me that like Chai Pig would get beaten up all the time.
Oh yeah, I can
It's like
imagine.
just
Like, and not to mention that like Chai Pig too at the time, like when he was a kid, he was like weird and he's always been mouthy. So I can imagine the shit that he would say when people would try to get into his face for being weird. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, and like that was the thing. Like you just pretty much had to like be able to throw a diss here and there when you start getting challenged. And then it was just like hope for the best, hope that you're not getting a Big Mac shoved up your ass. Like,
so. How'd you get into punk? Do you remember the first time you ever came across it?
so there's a couple things that like come to my mind when I think about it. I mean, obviously Luke, my older brother, he was always been like he was the one who was already like he knew some of the codes already of the way of the world. Like he had like Dead Kennedys and like he'd play that shit for me, and I was just like, whoa, this is so insane, and like Misfits and stuff like that, and Minor Threat. But I think like I was just like I remember when I was trying to get into it on my own. Um, I remember like hearing like there was a couple things. One was I remember seeing the "Smells Like Teen Spirit" video on TV, and there was the cameras coming in. I was like, "Oh, this song's pretty cool." And like so, I'm seeing moshing for the first time. But the main thing that I took away from that was as the camera comes in on the first shot, there's a guy wearing a Bad Brains t-shirt, and I remember being like, "That is such a cool name for a band." Like the logo looked cool, and I remember at that time, like Eye Against Eye was on like City Limits. So I saw Bad Brains like in like on TV, and I was like, this is fucking mental. So I already kind of like instantly knew the difference between like what Nirvana was doing, which was awesome to me, but also then there was like this whole other thing. And then I think some of my main grabs would have been the Minor Threat discography. I remember just like we would listen to that in the basement of our house, and we would just fucking tear the house apart. It was just like the songs were so short. Like I remember when I first heard Ramones, I was like, this is the best shit ever, because every song was like started with a count like 1 2 3 4. But like Minor Threat was like that, but it was just super fast, and they were like swearing all the time, which was huge for me. Like hearing bands swear on records was like the coolest shit in the world. Like I was like, oh my god. I was so convinced that the song Filler, it was like, and if we go to the chorus, instead of it where it goes filler, I thought he was going, fuck you. I was like, this is the best song ever. Like, so we would just like tear the basement to fucking shreds. Like, we were just like watching like, you seeing whatever was on Wedge, like mostly City Limits at the time. That was on Much Music, because they would play the odd punk video. I remember I saw the video for "We Gotta Know" by Cro-Mags, and that was also like, whoa, this is fucking insane. I remember like there was an SNFU video at the time for "Reality's a Ride on the Bus." Like these are just small like things that just permeated into my brain. But the biggest thing that changed, like that changed everything, was the first time I saw SNFU, and that would have been 19. I was probably like 11 or 12. Luke was at the show. My mom was like, yeah, you can go to the show as long as like Luke is gonna look out for you. But he was on acid and he wasn't fucking like he was just like, I don't know you. Get the fuck out of my face. So I was sitting in there and I had these big green Patrick Ewing fucking shoes on the time. They were like, had like, I was like, oh, these are gonna be so sick. And they had like, they were so gross, these mossy shoes. And I remember these like punk guys were like, what the fuck is, like, what are you wearing? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, and then seeing the amount of stage diving that was going on at an SNFU show at that time was like, to me, was just like, it was almost like a religious experience. Like Chai Pig, because the stage was a little higher, remember he would jump off the drum set. He's like a little guy, but he looked like he was 25 feet in the air. Like, and I just was like, holy shit, this is so insane. And I remember, shout out to Toronto, I had this random killing t-shirt, and it was like, I went to the show and it was like pretty new, like I got it, and I went into the pit and the collar got so stretched, like, because I was just getting thrown around, because I was just like, oh my god, I wanted to mosh like they were in like on like all these videos that I'd seen. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I was just getting fucking tuned, you know. I had keys in my fucking pants and I lost them. And I remember there was this kid throwing shit at Chai Pig the whole set, and Chai Pig kind of like had enough, and he like jumped off the stage and he tore this kid's shirt like clean off his body. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I just so this kid is like bare chested and like he's probably like 16, but I'm just like, oh my god, this is insane. And so like the show's going on, all this mayhem, everyone's going off, and I remember walking by the merch table as the show was like letting out, and this was in winter too. I remember it was like, it was fucking cold outside, and I walked by and there's like this kid with no shirt on, and he's like he's like, hey man, that was pretty cool. You think I can get like a free shirt? And like one of the guys from SNFU was just like, no, fuck off. And I was like, oh my god. Then I like go outside, we see my buddy's mom who's driving us home. And so we get into like her little station wagon and we're driving down the street, and like we turn the corner and there's like this bus stop, and there's this fucking kid with like no shirt on, just like holding his arms by the fucking thing. I'm like, I was just like staring out the window, like, oh my god. It was like, I kind of feel like it would be like if we witnessed the dress ripping in Suburbia, you know? I was like, oh my god, this is fucking terrifying. And I went home and like I just was so amped. Like I was just remember feeling like this is everything. This is like, I was listening to like, you know, like I had like grunge tapes and I had like rap tapes that were like, you know, like certain rap tapes made the cut, but some of them I was like, okay, I'm sorry, Belle Biv DeVoe, you're not making the cut. Like, it's like, well, get rid of that shit. And then it was just like, yeah, after that, it was, yeah, going to shows was just like, you know, and see, and like to me, SNFU, like it's funny because you have no perspective on how big things are. So to me, SNFU was like just as big as Nirvana or just as big as Green Day or whatever. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is like, everyone knows who this fucking band is. Like, yeah, of course. Like, what, they're gonna play the Grey Cup halftime. Of course, you know, like this is gonna be a thing. So realizing that's actually not the true, like the case either, is also like one of those lessons. Another one funny story I thought about when I was a kid. There used to be this punk record store near this high school called Punk and Junk, and it was like, it was such a like big store for me when I was a kid because it had like patches on the wall, and you know they'd have like just tons of current records that were going at the time. So this was like early 90s, so it was like, you know, I remember it was like a big deal when like Oz Rotten, like Fuck Nazi Sympathy 7-inch came out. I was just like, whoa, this is insane. And like, well, you know, like things like that. But DOA played this record store. They played they had like a warehouse in the back. And I remember being like, again, a dumb kid. I was probably like 13 at this show. And I remember DOA rolled up and I was like, oh my God, that's Joey Shithead. Like my head's like gonna explode. Like this was like, I think this was around like, yeah, 94, 95. I think the Black Spot record had just come out. And so like I had like I had the War on 45 record, and I had like, this compilation that had like a lot of hardcore 81 and stuff, but like Black Spot was the record that came out on this trip. So they come out, and like, to get into the warehouse from the record store, there was like a soundproof door with like a little window, and I was like looking in the window and I could see them like getting their gear set up, and like my mind, because I'm a dumb fucking kid, I don't understand that they're doing sound check. you know so I'm just like watching this, I'm like, what the fuck, where is everybody? Like, I'm just like having a panic attack in the, like, it's like a dog, like just like about to, waiting for their master to come out of the car to take him for a walk. I'm just like, oh, what the they're about to play and no one's here, and it's like 3 in the afternoon, and I'm just like, oh. And then the guy's like, well, you can go watch them. Like, I'm sure he said you can watch them sound check, but all I could see is him go, yeah, go ahead, go in there. So the door blows open. I remember they were playing like Race Riot for like their sound check, and I was just like hitting so hard. Like, I was like fucking yeah. Like, my friend, it was just like me and my friend that I went to the, like, I dragged him to this thing. We were pitting so fucking hard. And I remember they were like, what the fuck is going on with these idiot kids? And then like we would just go sit at the Dairy Queen next door, just like for like 8 hours, wait for the show to start, like, oh yeah, we'll put a shift in here and then we'll go watch them.
You'd always show up like 8 hours before the show.
Because you didn't know, like, you didn't know anything about anything, so it was just like so fresh. And yeah, I just remember pitting so hard to DOA. And actually, uh there was no bathroom at Punk and Junk, so people would always just use the bathroom at the Dairy Queen. So we're sitting there, and I remember, like, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go hit the can, bro, to the boys, so I go into the can, and I saw these, like, British Knights underneath the under the door. So I'm assuming it's just like one of my friends. So I'm like banging on the door and stuff like that. And I hear this voice like from behind, like from the bathroom stall. It's like, hey, can't you see I'm taking a shit in here? And it's like Joey Shithead. And I'm like, oh my God. So I like fucking beeline it out. And I'm like, all my friends are like, oh my God, Joey Shithead's taking a shit. It's like, again, it's like if David Bowie was or something, that's like, again, like how your idiot brain kind of works. But that was yeah, long story short, those were pivotal moments for me. And I also think about the BYO comp that came out, that something better to believe in, something to believe in, and then there was someone's going to get their head kicked in.
Yeah.
And so those two comps were like, because SNFU was on one of them, that was like, okay, this one's good. But then you go to the first one and it's like Adolescence and Youth Brigade and that early Social Distortion and like Battalion of Saints, and like that I would listen to like on heavy rotation. Like, I just couldn't believe how good like bands from LA seemed at that time. Like, it's like listening to like Aggression, and it's funny because I like that. I think I listened to that record so much that it's hard for me to find, like, when I listen to like Second Coming, like by Battalion of Saints, I think the versions of those songs that were on the comp, I like the comp ones more. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know if that's the case for everyone else, but it was just, even the Blue record, like Adolescence Blue record is like a masterpiece, but I kind of like the versions that were on that comp more. But anyway, those were just like huge things for me.
There's always been like a really strong connection, I guess, going back to SNFU between BYO and Edmonton.
Hmm.
Like, you guys
Big
obviously
time.
winding up on there too.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge honor for us, was like to meet the Stearns, and then like, and they were like, liked our band, and they were like, hey, would you guys want to do a record? And it's like, oh fuck yeah. Like, it was just like, that was crazy for us. Um I mean, it was yeah, I mean, like, you think of the ties that they had to our region, right? Like, they had the one song from Personality Crisis. There was Unwanted, which gets dogged somehow, but I think that Unwanted song is really good on the comp. And Junior Gone Wild, um, Junior Gone Wild. I love that first Junior Gone Wild album that's on BYO. It's like kind of like the missing link between like Replacements and just like trashy cowboy kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a really good record. And but yeah, and then the fact that guys from Youth Brigade, like they were all from Toronto, and so it was like there was like this Canadian connection for sure. So those were like the bands that meant a lot to me. And like, not to throw shade, but like definitely like Dayglow Abortions, like that had its own built-in scene, and that was kind of like and don't get me wrong, like I think like like they got some they definitely have their place in punk Canada history. It's just they weren't necessarily that wasn't necessarily like my scene, like that was just like so that was almost like there was like an unspoken kind of like line in the sand too when I was growing up, where it was like you either liked like just like Dayglow and later Fear stuff and all that, or else you got into like yeah some of the British shit that was going on, and it was like Angelic Upstarts and like Sham 69 and all that shit. And yeah, so I mean I guess it was just like I was very thirsty to find like music all the time, and I just like getting my mind blown by hearing stuff has always been something that I still search for that all the time, like hearing a new record that like could be 40 years old, and I'm like, how did I never hear about this, or like shit like that. Even regional stuff that you're just like, wow, how did that slip through the my fingers or whatever.
Well, it's such a huge country geographically, and
Hmm.
it's weird because there were like so many punk records that came out like right from the beginning. There were just like in almost every city there's like every major city I'd say there's like five
Yeah,
records that are
like
crazy
killer.
killer, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
go on, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say it, and like think about how influential some of that shit was. Like I think about like obviously DOA and Subhumans being like, like that's to me is like some of our greatest exports for like in terms of what they contributed to punk. But then I think about like the stuff out east, and I was just like Screaming Fist to me is still like maybe one of the best punk songs that ever came out of like maybe the best song. Like I just like it's such a perfect tune, and like you know it our RIP Steve Leckie. And but it was like the Screaming Fist was just like, yeah, I mean I remember I still think about it every time I put that single on. It's just like, man, they fucking nailed it. Like it's just it's got to be up there for almost like that's a great contribution to world punk from that time, I would say.
Oh, definitely, like the Bad Brains guys talk about how that was a huge influence on them, right?
And
Like,
like you can almost you can hear it, like if you listen to like Black Dots, like when especially when you listen to those Black Dot sessions, you can tell like some of that stuff, like the bass tone that Daryl Jennifer had, it's like very much like that kind of violent Toronto like grimy kind of shit. It's just like awesome. And like yeah, it's like and so like every city kind of has like and they every city kind of and major city as you point out has like also different eras that I think are really cool to see some of the development. Like Toronto is like just I mean geographically it's hard not to see it contribute to everything from like fucking hardcore to like punk to like metal.
it's weird though. I would argue that out west on hardcore in particular, there's more of an impact internationally. Like,
Mm,
obviously, we had some great bands from here. Youth had
yeah,
incredible LPs.
right.
There's certainly some great stuff out of Montreal, but like nothing compared to the impact of like DOA, Subhumans, as you said,
Hmm.
Neos, SNFU,
Oh yeah,
No Means
Neo's
No.
fuck man. Neo's is fucking insane to me. Like where the fuck did those guys come from? Like they're like little kids just playing the fastest shit ever, and it's just like again yeah like that's one of the things I find and there's things that get lost. So the band Disciples of Power,
Yeah,
they were like a metal band that was like from Edmonton, but they moved to Ottawa I think, and like I think they did a record on Fringe, stuff like that. Anyway, they it's funny enough, the drummer from that band, Dean, he's like my I guess like my sister Moira, she married Dean's son.
Okay.
So I guess
Like a
we're now related,
father-in-law
which
kind of
yeah, I don't
somehow.
know,
Yeah.
father, uncle-in-law, I
Uncle-in-law.
don't know what
Yeah.
the fuck it's called. But either way, he's sick. So every time we see each other, it's just like we just talk trash and but Dean was also in this crazy, like there was this era of Edmonton punk where it was like, wow, there was like this whole other thing. So before Disciples of Power, he was in a band called Scattered Bodies, and Scattered Bodies, you could tell were like on the like they were like listening to like really heavy kind of punk stuff like GBH, Discharge. You can tell there was like a heavy English Dogs vibe. And this is like, early 80s, like 81, 82. And then I think they ended up putting a demo tape out in like 83 or 84. So like, and they were from like Stony Plain, and it's great. I mean, it was only a tape. I hope, I heard there was talk that someone was actually going to reissue it, but they're having some issues with it. But the tape is available on YouTube, and it's so fucking good. And from that band, they did another band called Cruxes or something like that. And it
They have a
was like,
record. They have a 45
they
too.
never did a record. There was just like, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like there's all these bands that were like, you see them on posters and shit like that, and then you find out about their lore, and like there's practice tapes of them jamming, and then you'll hear like, oh man, that totally sounds like like English Dogs when they were kind of doing the crossover phase, and but it's really punk and really nasty. And then sure enough, those guys all became Disciples of Power. But prior to that, they were in like charged, like big fucking charged hair, wearing like having like seeing guys in like 1982 in Edmonton with like anti-Cymex written on their jacket. You're like, that is fucking crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like, especially knowing the fucking goobers that like roam the streets here. Like the pavement apes in Edmonton are a whole different breed.
Yeah, it's definitely like, well, I guess it explains why there's so many cool records in that city, because
Mm-hmm.
there's always been kind of like a scene. And Toronto kind of is the same way. Like we have a lot of bands put out LPs, but it was kind of later in their careers. Most of the best stuff were these early tapes that people were
Yeah,
putting out that, yeah, like unless I guess now they're on YouTube and things like that, but like unless you knew someone back in the day, you weren't going to hear that
totally,
stuff, right? Like,
for sure. I mean, speaking of which, like how we were talking about like having great record scores together,
yeah,
where like me and Jonah like were sifting through guys' collections. We were like, holy shit!
the
I remember
craziest
that
collection
being
I've ever seen. That one time,
that
it
was fucking
insane.
mental. So there was another time I remember, and I didn't know this was even a thing, but like at the U of A, like the University of Alberta, there was like a CGSR, which was like kind of like the student radio thing. They in like 82 to 85, they were listed, they had like a maximum rock and roll radio show, which I didn't know about obviously until I went back and started looking through like old maximum rock and rolls. You could see that there was an address there. So this guy ran this radio show, and so he would get all the maximum rock and roll like kind of taste, like that style would start coming. So like you get all this Italian hardcore like coming into Edmonton, like Wretched singles and like Indigesti and shit like that. And then it would be like yeah, like anti-Cymex, they'd be playing on this show, right? So I go to this guy's house, and he's like, yeah, I'm just getting rid of everything, like feel free to go through this. And I remember it was just like, holy shit. It was like, yeah, like all this like international kind of hardcore stuff, like yeah, like BGK, like Radis, like a lot of the like Swedish and Finnish hardcore stuff, like Turvit Cadet, all that kind of shit. And I remember I got so many good scores out of that, but the one that fucking blew me away was he was just like, I remember seeing like an Agnostic Front United Blood, and I'm like, how much you want for that? He's like, you know what? I hate that band. Just take it. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
I'm
god.
like, here, let me just give you, because in my mind, I'm like, this might be a bootleg. It looks like a bootleg, whatever. So I give him, I'm like, give him whatever cash I had on me. I'm like, this is like a one of my holy grail ones. So, whatever. He's like, yeah, whatever, just take it. I remember like bringing it home and I'm like, this can't be, like a real United blood. And then of course, like I'm hanging out. This is when me and Dave lived together, and I remember pulling it out, and there was like stickers, and there was all this shit that like Roger had written to this label, or like written to this TV show, or like the radio
Radio
show, this
show.
Maximum,
Oh.
because it would have been just like, oh, you were in Maximum Rock and Roll. I'm gonna send out my singles. And so I'm like fucking just sitting there. And I remember just being like, oh man, like obviously I wasn't gonna be like, hey man, can I pay full price for this? Like but I definitely feel like I got guys just getting that, like, just because I didn't even know that existed. Like I didn't even know there was like this portal from Edmonton into this international hardcore community. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so seeing an Agnostic Front single, like, that would have been from that time. Like, funny that they would have even been writing to, like, being like, oh yeah, let's just send it to these addresses and stuff like that. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Well, it's pre-beef, right?
Yeah,
Before the Max Rock and Roll beef
yeah,
type thing.
totally. That's what I
So
was thinking too. I'm like, man, like, because I pretty sure there was like a big time beef between Timmy Hanneman and
yeah, I think it's still pretty real for those guys too.
yeah.
Roger definitely is does not seem like he's letting it go anytime soon.
It's
So
like, no way, buddy.
no.
But yeah, like, so that was again, like, it was just another portal that I didn't even know existed in our city, so. And even like, even if we go in past like hardcore, thinking about like we were talking about, like minimal synth stuff that comes out of Canada, like I'm still finding stuff that I've like never heard of before. And it's just like, I remember being with Jonah one time, and he's like, oh, you'd really like this first Rational Youth. And I remember being like, oh, okay, like I'll check it out. And I was like, I was like, this is so sick. Like, this is made in Canada. Like, those kind of things. Like, you never take for granted, like, bands like Skinny Puppy existed here too. Like, it's just, Canada does have a lot of interesting bands. And I think one of the things that makes it interesting is that they're from places that don't get the steady flow of, like, the big hype bands that are kind of rolling through. So a lot of people are kind of left to their own devices to, like, figure out a sound, like I'm sure, like, Mo Berg and like those guys, when they were doing, Modern Minds, they were probably influenced by, yeah, like power pop stuff going on, but they still probably attacked it like bunch of fucking goofballs from Edmonton, right? So, like, the guitars are a little bit nastier, like the playing is a little bit more. I mean, those guys could play, like, they don't, like, definitely not trying to undersell their skill, but it was just like there was still like a caveman aspect to it
Yeah, it's
that
like
only
not
comes from being, it's not polished.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
Like
that's what makes it so like beautiful, like that's kind of what makes it so interesting. And I think that's why Canadian bands kind of, like, we were talking about all these different eras and stuff. And I think that's why there was good representation for each of these eras, because we would always have like the mutant bands, right? Like SNFU is a mutant band. Like, where does that exist? Like, Fucked Up is a mutant band. Like, there's no way that should have been, you know what I mean? Like, in that time, it was just like, like, especially when like straight edge hardcore was coming back in a big way, and like, there's really fast hardcore, and you guys were like way more like with a really like attacked it with like that Black Flag kind of vibe, like in the early days. Like, I think people weren't even ready for that shit, like, what the
I,
fuck, shit.
I think it's like you're saying it. I think there weren't like stakes
Yeah.
really for bands up here, right? Like like there certainly wasn't, like you're saying, like DOA's playing record stores. Like here's this band that kind of like did invent hardcore,
Hmm.
and they're playing record stores, or like you'd see like Dayglow Abortions play to like 15 people, and you're like,
I
these are like
know.
the pioneers, and this is what's happening with them. Like,
And then you see like Bonehead being like, buddy, we are an institution. And he's like putting his legs up. I'm like, dude, there's like 18 guys here. Like,
It's funny you brought that up though, because it was such a like Dayglow abortions that at that time would be more comparable to like I guess what like scum rock kind of
Totally.
crowd,
Would be
like
like
Gigi Allen kind of.
big time. Like anti scene, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Like that world was like that's where Dayglow kind of went into. Like the early Dayglow is like straight up just like goofy, kind of like, like goofy hardcore kind of stuff. But then when they started getting more like metalized with like, better playing and stuff, I think that they kind of started kind of going into that kind of world a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, like BFGs too. Like maybe
Yeah.
not,
Oh, for sure.
but like metal when they start getting more metal like that too. Like the vibe
Yeah.
is
Just kind of
is
like fucking ruined it. And you're like,
it's not my
wow. And then like Godzilla shows up and you're like, oh shit.
there's some
The
that's
biggest dude ever.
the most
Like,
terrifying band in the history of Toronto.
I was gonna say, I remember they played like a family restaurant in Edmonton, and I went and saw BFG for the first time, and it was like, yeah, this Godzilla guy, and he's like wearing this cop outfit, and then he has like a pig mask on, and then they like have like an air pistol, and they shoot him on stage, and I'm like, what is? And there was like 10 guys at this show, and they're doing all these theatrics, and it's like I'm like, what is happening here? This is chairs are flying over. There was like 15 fights, and there was like 10 guys at the show. Like, I don't know what is happening here.
I remember going to see MDC, and they were opening, and they must have smashed 12 TVs on stage. So there's just
Oh,
glass everywhere, like
wow.
and then there's one guy losing his mind in the pit. Like it's just like Toronto fishbowl and one guy in the middle just fucking going crazy. They finish, it takes forever. Like the stage has to get swept up to get all the glass off. And then this dude that was pitting the whole time gets up on stage and it's Dave Dichter and he gets up to sing.
No way.
He's like, Bunch of Fucking Goose are like one of my favorite bands ever. We're MDC.
That is sick. So do you remember this is a funny memory that just popped up, and actually me and Jonah were kind of laughing about this just like about a week or two ago. But do you remember there was that show, the Mike Bullard show?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
so do you remember there was like out of nowhere Random Killing was like on there, and I
I
was
did
like,
not remember that. That's amazing.
oh yeah. So I'm like at home as a kid, and like Mike Bullard is like the shittiest show. Like he's just like telling like bad Ukrainian jokes to people in the crowd, and you're like, oh, this is just rough. Like
So brutal.
let's get this going. And then he's like, yeah, we got a band from Toronto here, and here they are, Random Killing. And I'm like, what? And and it was like, yeah, it's just like seeing them play on like national TV. It was like, this is insane to me.
They also their first 7 inch comes out like what 86,
Oh
80.
man, Take Our Flag is a good single.
It's fucking amazing.
I think that single rips. Like Terrorist Attack is a jam. There's like some bangers on that single. I never really like, I don't think when I was a kid, like I had the tapes, like, you go get like, I think like the album Welcome or like
Yeah,
Thoughts of Aggression, like they
the
were
Raw
like
Energy
everywhere.
specials.
Yeah, those were totally like every store had those. It would be like those three Random Killing tapes, DRI, Four of a Kind, the weird shitty Circle Jerks record that no one, like Wonderful or something like that. like the tapes that you're like, oh, this will be my introduction to like all of these bands. This is the only Chromax that you could get is Alpha Omega. Perfect. Like
Well, with the Raw Energy stuff, because of the success of King Missile and Detachable Penis,
were they
they
Canadian?
I don't think they're Canadian, but they distributed the record up here,
Oh,
or they were on Raw Energy in Canada.
wow,
So they
crazy.
had distribution through A&M. So that's why
Hmm.
like you'd find those like Throbbing Hoods, I think they were called, like the other band on there,
All
and
I know is you just blew my mind, even just bringing up King Missile, because I remember Detachable Penis like it was yesterday. And then didn't they have this song like the Martin Scorsese song where he's just like, I want to take his head and bite his
yeah.
fucking ear
You
off.
make the
And I'm like,
best movies, Martin
yeah.
Scorsese. You make the best movies. I
And I
always
was just like,
I
that's
always get
such
that.
a
Was that Furnace
funny.
Face or that is that them?
Burner's Face is Ottawa.
Furnace Face is amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ottawa Kings.
Yeah. And I remember they got didn't they also like get nominated for Juno or something like that for like that first album?
Yeah, because they
Just
had
by
that.
it.
Yeah, they have that song Tony Iommi, or
Oh,
he
oh, right.
believed.
I just remember they had that song "About to Drown," and the video was them all in the pool, and they're all like underwater playing. And I was like, "Whoa, sick!" Again, City Limits shout out.
You know what's so fucking weird about those Ottawa records? They
Hmm.
all have these like they're 7 inches, but they all have full sized sleeves. Like the
Oh,
Trapped. Do you know the Trapped record from
whoa!
Ottawa?
I do. I didn't know that that was that. Like I always thought it was a single.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
single, and
12-inch with a 7-inch in it.
this is too. This is like the furnace face new pad, and it's a 7 inch, but it comes in a 12-inch sleeve.
Oh man,
Maybe they, and it's only Ottawa bands that I have found
did
that
they
do
have
this
just
to
like
that.
an over
Yeah.
like the city was overrun by like 12-inch jackets?
The city's like we are like the local record store. I don't think it
The
would have
one
been
thing we
Vertigo.
cannot do is a 7-inch.
We're not stocking 7 inches. You got to bring them in long box
Yeah,
style.
we want long box. You can't see over our bins. That's the problem. But
Yeah.
like, man, like Furnace Face, that is also a wild reference because like I haven't thought about that band in so long, and I remember they were so big too in Canada. Like, like I remember just being like, wow, they're like all over TV and like yeah, and those guys were really nice people too. I remember meeting the bass player, and he was a total like punk encyclopedia too. Like he was telling me as we were like little kids. I remember he was telling us about like the Wanderer, like the bands like Stiv Bators did that wasn't with Dead Boys, like, and we were just like, whoa, crazy. And he was telling us all about this stuff and like yeah, it's like super groups with like guys from Sham 69. I was just like, whoa, this is like he was blowing our mind back then because like it was just like you would just kind of see him on like them on TV for that short period of time or whatever.
Yeah. Like I was trying to explain Canadian mainstream music in the late 80s and into the 90s to someone. And it's like all these bands came out of punk bands like Pursuit of Happiness, Blue
Totally.
Rodeo, Furnace
Grapes of
Face,
Grapes of Wrath.
Grapes of Wrath. Yeah. Like
Yeah. They were
there's,
Gentlemen of Horror.
yeah, there's like so much cool shit.
Yeah.
Like in our mainstream music back then, it would be like, it wasn't quite as hard as the Replacements and Husker Du,
Sure.
but it's kind of the same vibe when you think of Blue Rodeo. It's like
I would say like especially that early Blue Rodeo and like they came from punk bands too. Like
hi-fi.
yeah. Oh yeah, fuck totally. And and obviously Mo Berg, like just talking about him too, like comes from like punk bands and Junior Gone Wild, like those like Mike McDonald was in Malibu Cans, which was like a fantastic Edmonton punk single. If you I mean, the two songs that are on it came from Inner Space, really good, but the single, it's called Be My Barbie, is fucking so good. There's a song called Crude City, and that should be the fucking anthem of our city. Like, I fucking love that song still. Um, but yeah, no, it's totally true. Like, you just think about like how like it just kind of seemed like MTV, like when it exploded in the States, like it gave like a voice to a lot of like outlier kind of punk bands, but that were like kind of breaking into the main like REM or like B-52s, like bands like that, like Devo,
Devo,
especially. Like,
yeah.
you think about Devo, like you think of like the visual side of Devo, like MTV is like perfect for a band like that. You know what I mean? So it was just like um like in Canada, they had like the frontier was wide open. Like I don't think much music knew what they were doing either. Like they were making it up as they went. Like and they probably had bands on there that probably had no business being in a small little confined studio or something like that. But yet they would give them a platform because they didn't know better, right? Like seeing Razor or something like that on Much Music is just like what? Like Voivod or something. What? This is fucking crazy. Like
Yeah, I think there's like a footage from it must be City Limits. Maybe it was Power Hour, but they like went and saw Slaughter practicing in their basement in
crazy.
like Scarborough, like recorded them practicing. I'm pretty sure that was them doing it. But anyway, it's
Yeah.
like there was so much cool,
Hmm.
like Much Music for how terrible it got
Yeah.
was at one point like crazy cool, the shit that would sneak
Well,
on there.
one of the things that I think is really, I mean, I worked with this guy for the longest time who was like the audio guy for Much Music, and so like he was telling me stories about like, yeah, everyone would like, this was the audio console that was everyone was blowing lines off of. There was like a little mirror part, like where all
Are you
this
talking
like
about
built.
the I think I should probably beep his name, but the audio booth where
Yeah, yeah, totally. And like he was telling us all this shit like about that, and he was telling me like where he got to like, like Iggy Pop, like, played like, this was when he was doing like the real Wild Child era, and then he did the Wild America, and he did like all the sound for all this shit, and he still had one of the microphones like that Iggy Pop gave him, and I was like, whoa, that's sick. And then he he gave it to me, so I have it like at home. I'm like, I know there's bits of Iggy Pop's DNA in this microphone, so it's fucking sweet. But yeah, I don't know, like it was just kind of like, I think there was something so pure and innocent about like Much Music in a way. Like it obviously, all of it, it's MTV too, all of that stuff got ruined by like, obviously, like corporate bullshit that just kind of like tanked both stations, both networks and stuff like that. But there was a time where it was just like, yeah, man, there was just hilarious shit, and the stuff that I remember being a kid and like seeing, like, remember seeing like videos for like Mitsu, and I'd be like, like 11 years old, sweating. My dad's like, why is he sweating so much? And I'm
she
like,
was the
oh
most
my god.
beautiful woman in the world. I felt
In
too
the
when
I know.
you watch French Kiss before because they would have French Kiss on just before they would start their programming day, and
Oh
I
yeah.
was I don't remember. I haven't seen pictures of her since back then, but I remember being like,
No,
"This is the
but
most gorgeous person I've ever seen in my life."
it was like it was like Queen Elizabeth and Mitsu, I love you. I'm gonna write you love letters. Erica M, you are such a babe. Like, I do remember seeing like the and yeah, Mitsu, and then I remember seeing like Salt and Pepper videos, and I'd just be like having to like dab my forehead again because my dad's like, well, again, why is this kid sweating? What's fucking wrong with him?
Yeah, there was like it was like really cool to have these music video stations as a young
Hmm.
person because it was kind of like like that was the portal to go to, and like you could kind
Yeah,
of like pick what culture you were going to go into based on what was permeating in there, like, oh,
like each show had like its own subculture,
totally.
like Rap City and like Extendamix, like,
I love that when
massive.
Michael Williams would like host Rap City and then he just put on a leather vest and he's like, okay, I'm ready to do Pepsi Power Hour now.
But man, was Michael Williams was the coolest dude. Like I
Fucking
remember just being
awesome.
like, dude, he looks so sick. Like, and I remember, yeah, like it would be, and then all of a sudden you'd be like watching it, and then there'd be a like footage just popping up of like Dead Kennedys playing somewhere in Toronto, and Jello Biafra's got just a pair of jeans on, and guys are hanging off his leg, and I'm like, what the like, it's just like that shit was just so. Although I also, speaking of which, I remember like seeing a music video for like American Luck by like Razor,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I remember seeing that video, and it's like, looks like there's like six guys at the at the venue, and I was like, oh man, that is just such a fucking sad video.
Yeah. It's funny with the metal stuff now because I think like, obviously Razor, Exciter, all these bands get like a lot more love, Anvil,
Yeah, yeah,
but it was pretty bleak in the 90s. Post Nirvana in Canada for these
all of
bands
that
was,
stuff got killed.
yeah.
Like, I think all that stuff kind of got looked at as just like goofy, and and some of it like definitely didn't deserve
Oh,
to get
definitely.
tuned. But like, so funny you should say that, because like in Edmonton, if we go back to our little town, the black metal scene was so big at that time. Like, I remember there was like, yeah, like there was like all these tapes that would kind of come out, and bands like Sacramentary Abolishment, or like Axis of Advance, and all this stuff, and like Revenge obviously is like kind of like the bigger band. But it was just like, there was so like Blasphemy was big in Vancouver, and like, so like that whole like black metal scene was like, I remember being a thing, like at even like, I don't know if that was the case in Ontario, but like in Alberta, it definitely would be like you kind of go to shows and you see like these kind of guys, and they were starting to like get, they were young, but they're, I don't know if that was like the prerequisite to get into black metal at the time. You had to be like 9 feet tall, but like every guy was huge and like have the sketchiest stuff on their jackets, and you're like, holy shit. And it was just like that kind of had like a weird, like that was kind of when that would have been kind of like mid 90s, kind of when, or like, that was kind of when you would kind of see a lot of friction between like punk and stuff like that and then metal. Like it definitely, those shows weren't being mixed anymore,
Yeah.
you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like it wasn't so, people kind of got over that, like I don't want to play with these guys, they're fucking sketchy, and
Yeah. I'm
I
trying
don't
to think
really
like
understand.
there was a black metal store. This would have been like mid 90s. That was like some guy opened above his parents' deli, like right
Oh yeah,
downtown
like in Toronto.
in Toronto.
Wow.
And that was like the place that people be like, oh yeah, it's like it was like the weirdest record store.
Yeah,
It was like
we literally had the same one. Like it was like the one in Edmonton was called Faceplant, and there was this guy named Troy, and he would work there, and he'd be like, "Hey, well, fuck, whatever," and he was like, this dude just walk in and it was just like blasting black metal, and you're just like, okay, this is so fucking weird. But he would order punk records in from the time, so like he was like, you're like, hey, do you think you can order the new Defiance record? He's like, fuck you. But he would, and then you would get them. And I remember when the Odds Rotten LP came out, that was such a big deal, and it finally showed up. I remember like getting there, and like you get home, there's so much stuff in the record. Like it'd be like, you'd have the record of turn into this huge poster. There was a fanzine in there, like a fucking flexi with Mumia Brujamal like talking into a microphone, and I was like, okay, so I get home, I'm like, first thing I'm gonna listen to is the flexi, obviously.
obviously
Okay, go. That's enough of that. And like,
it's yeah, like it was there were like be flyers for animal rights stuff in records
oh yeah,
too. There was always like, tons of
so
crap.
much shit.
So
Like
much things.
you'd open it up and be like, kind of just like everything just falling on your lap, just like, yeah, like patches and boots and like fucking dreadlocks that would, open up a time portal or something like that. Like,
We're Glory Stompers kind of the big local band.
oh man, they were huge for me, and for me, they were massive. Like, I would say Glory Stompers like left a huge imprint on me and my peer group, because they were also like one of the first like punk bands from our, like, that we looked up to that were traveling. And I remember seeing like them playing in New York, and it would be like them playing with Verukers and like Casualties at the time. Like it's like early 90s, and you're just like, fuck, this is insane. Like, so in my mind, like, they're probably a very popular band and stuff. And like, they would do shows with like Armed and Hammered in Toronto, and like, that kind of shit. And like Tear, the drummer from Glory Sombras, who went on to do like Riot 99 and a whole bunch of bands, he him and his girlfriend at the time, they made this fanzine in Edmonton called Stonewall, and there was 3 issues. And I wish like, obviously I read them so much that they're destroyed, like disintegrated. I have no idea where these are anymore. But they were like, that was like your access into like that underground shit that was going on. It was like seeing like Blank 77, The Pissed, like, like not like nausea stuff, or like, just shit that was going on that wasn't metal, wasn't grunge. It's like, these are guys with like charged hair, like looking fucking cool. I remember there was an interview in one of the issues with Casualties from like before they even put out, I think their first single had just come out, because there was a tape that came with the zine, and it had like these 2 Casualty songs on it. And I remember the interview with them, and they're like, you know, these guys standing with like huge charged hair, and like their walls, they used to just like, I guess the guy would put all his punk records and use them all, like hang them all up, so like the walls were just like records. And I was just like, well, this, like, so you would just like look at the zine to figure out like what these bands were. You're like, who the fuck are the Insane? Like, who, like, you just like look at the like GBH, obviously you see everywhere, and And but yeah, it's just like those little portals into shit that was happening. And Glory Stompers were definitely a conduit for a lot of people from our city. Like they probably don't even recognize or realize how much they might have influenced like another generation. But like watching those guys kind of do the thing. And now of course like Greg is playing in like, he did like Bishop's Green, and you know, Alternate Action was really a fucking awesome band he did. And now he's got a new band called First Attack. So he's still like doing his thing. And it's just like, yeah. So at that time there was like Glory Stompers were the kind of like the spiky band. Then there was this band that I was like obsessed with called Blindside. And they were like the Gorilla Biscuits of, I guess, kind of like they were like straight edge band, very like New York straight edge. Like you could tell they were like really into like Youth of Today, and like totally got me into that world.
Mid 90s
And
they're doing this too?
yeah, this, well, 93 I think is their first
Oh wow,
tape.
so it's
It
like
was called,
pre Youth Crew Revival.
totally. It was like they were like kind of, you could tell that they had some songs where they were like listening to Slayer, for instance. So like there was like Slayer riffs kind of in there, but it was like very like, you know, like youth, it was total Youth Crew stuff. And I loved it so much. Like it was just, those tapes were, I don't know, like those kind of seemed lost in the, I think there's a few tracks here and there on YouTube and stuff like that, but they were just like, again, just really great, like turned me on to that whole world of Youth Crew stuff. And like I definitely went down a huge rabbit hole being obsessed with Youth of Today, and just like, like listening to like Break Down the Walls and like fucking We're Not in This Alone, like on repeat, after like seeing them cover, like, I mean, they did like I remember the Blindside covered like uh We're Gonna Fight by 7 Seconds. And yeah, and then yeah, they did I remember they did Stabbed in the Back by Youth of Today, and I was like, this is sick. So they were just like fast and just like total like, one of the guys from Blindside actually ended up in, I believe he ended up in that band Chokehold.
Oh,
Yeah.
was
So
he the
that
guy
like,
who had kind of dreadlocks
yeah, who ended up, and
in
he also
Vancouver?
he also played in Glory Stompers, I think, for a minute.
Oh,
His
crazy.
name was
Yeah.
Matt, I think.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, that's
And then yeah, and then I think Chokehold, like they obviously toured a ton with like Youth Today and shit like that too, or Shelter maybe at the time, I can't remember.
no, they probably would have fought with Shelter back then. It was
Yeah,
they were definitely a
probably.
band that had a lot of divisive kind of vibes, I think, back then with some people in the scene. But like, yeah,
Oh,
like
really?
would like Strain and Brand New Unit come and play from
Brand New
Vancouver?
Unit I saw like a couple times. Like they for sure. I don't know if I saw Strain, but I remember like Gob and like
Yeah.
Brand New Unit
DBS.
would come. Yeah, they would, DBS. Like those bands seem to come together a lot. I would see like, yeah, it'd be like seeing them play. I remember Gob played at that Punk and Junk actually, and I remember being a kid and watching them, and they were like, "Oh, I eat my own booger," like doing stupid shit on stage. And I was like, "This is fucking whack." And then of course they become like massive band in our country. Like I was just like, "Holy shit!" So yeah, yeah, and actually it's just, yeah, it's just one of those things, like you just never know from that time too. Like there was bands from that time that would just play shitholes, and the next thing you know they were like Green Day, like Green Day played, like literally played like places in Edmonton that were just like little crappy diners. And next thing you know, Dookie comes out and everything's like totally changed. Like they would have been doing that on like Kerplunk and stuff like that.
Look at fucking Reset.
Totally.
Like the like it's a documentary about, well, not about Reset, but like about those guys in Simple
Yeah.
Plan. It's
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's fucking crazy. And
it's
now they're
crazy.
like, and now they're like selling out fucking arenas.
The
It's
whole
like,
way through a Simple Plan, I was like, the guys from Reset? Like more power to them, but like Reset was not the most likely to succeed in my eyes from that sort of
no,
class.
no. Yeah, it's totally a wild, wild ride when you think about some of these bands, like where this happened. But like, I mean, Yeah, it's just definitely one of those things where you think about like you never know. You just see some like kid band, and I mean these days I feel like that happens less and less because it seems like you see like a new band, it's like almost like out of the gates, they're already fully formed. Like especially like even young people bands. Like you see them and you're just like, wow, like everything, like you know how to do so much shit that like, us old farts are still like trying to figure out like what the fuck is a reel? Like I'm
Well,
trying to figure this shit out and like it's just that's part of the game now and it's just
yeah.
like so tricky.
Well, I think the thing is also like there's because of that, there's so many good bands. There's almost too many good bands at times where
True.
you're like
I,
nothing stands out because everything's of a level of a quality to it.
it is absolutely mental to think like you see bands like a punk show and you're just like seeing the different flavors of punk bands playing on one show and and they're all good and you're like, well, this is fucking like I remember we like Homefront did a show in Philadelphia and like top to bottom it was like every band on the bill was like killer. It was like I remember it was like I'm trying to remember but it was like yeah, like you play a show and you're like, okay, Poison Ruin, who's this band? Oh, this is fucking amazing. Bayton Arme, who is this band? Holy shit. Puffer, like it's just like wow, this is just going on, like it blows me away sometimes.
Yeah, there's not like it's like I went to a local show and every band did perfect covers. Every
Yeah,
band, if I had seen them back then, would probably have been my favorite band
I
at
know
a show because they would have been like head and shoulders above the stuff that we were
what was
putting on
going
this.
on. You'd be like, hell yeah, fucking walk out like yeah, BFG was pretty good tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly. Like like no diss on a lot of these bands back in the 90s, but
no,
like
because
it
it's
was
just like
different.
fucking like insane. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just like fuck yeah. Like it's funny because like Homefront, we ended up having like the like we just decided to like cover an Inepsy song out of nowhere. It was because we got asked to do this like uh they wanted a song for like this magazine and they were like, we're gonna put a flexi. We want one of your B-sides. And like the B-sides we had were like I was just like, these aren't gonna stand like up on their own right now. Like they're kind
This
of
wouldn't
weird
come in an
songs.
Osrotten record.
It wouldn't be on an Osron record. So we were just like sitting there, and we're like, "Fuck! Well, why don't we just like? Well, we have no time. Let's decide to record a song. Like, let's figure out a fucking cover to do." And Clint was like, "Oh, we should do an FC, like Street City Kids." And I remember being like, hearing like like I'm like I could totally see like a synth in that tune and shit. So we like did it and we banged it out really quick. And it was funny because like obviously with Steve Bennett passing and like I kind of like hadn't really gone back to an Epsy in a way, and then since like when we decided to record like do this cover, I started like listening to them again, and it was just like hit me how like important they were for being like a band that would just be yeah like these weirdos from like Quebec that would just like show up and everything's black and everything's like, like cyborg shit and like fucking HR Geiger kind of stuff. And then it's like all this apocalypse shit. But like they were already tuned in to the fact that you could mix Motorhead with Discharge and it's quite a simple thing to do and it will blow everyone's fucking heads off. But even at the time, I don't think people really understood how great it was to see them because like I saw them a number of times and they were always good, like killer in fact. But like looking back on it, I was just like I started thinking like could you like if that band had started now, like I wonder what the impact would have been. And like I mean, we see there's so many bands that came from them like like Toxic Holocaust, like all these bands that were doing that kind of like thrashy kind of like motor charge kind of stuff like midnight or like and it's interesting that like Inepsy kind of started this. I feel like started this like train a rolling. And when we started covering the song, and like it just sent me on a deep dive on their records again, and I was just like, fuck these, like that's a point of pride, I think, from our era, where I like look at those things. I'm like, those are pretty fucking incredible records. Like, especially like City Weapons and Rock and Roll Babylon. Like those two are just like fucking just monsters,
It's
you know?
also like it's hard to appreciate unless you were there how real it was.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it,
especially how real those guys were. Like
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
they definitely did not pull any punches. Like they were getting courted to do big stuff with like metal labels and shit, and they were just like, fuck that. We are like we are a punk band. We're with Feral Ward, which is such a sick label
yeah.
at the time.
I
And they just kind of like, yeah, kind of did like like wrote their own playbook in a way, you know?
yeah, I feel like Steve Bennett, rest in peace, was the punkest dude I've ever met in my life. And
Oh,
I mean that with like the highest level of respect.
yeah,
But like, and I mean that because like even the way he handled business, being like did you ever
yeah,
play Loud House? You know, like
yeah,
it was like playing the Gilman, the way he'd pay you at the end and like you count
yeah.
the
Oh,
money
for
in front
sure.
of him. He's like, count it for me. They pay you fucking incredibly well. It was like
I know. And the shows would be
crazy, so
so
fucking
fucking
crazy.
packed and so crazy. And it's just like, yeah, and like the gallons of
Yeah.
PCP coming out of the
My
walls, you
cousin,
know, like
my cousin Garland, who plays in No Joy, got dosed with PCP when he was like 14 years old, coming to see us play there one time.
oh
Maybe
no
15, but
way.
yeah, it was fucking rough.
Oh man, was he like I could only imagine. Like that was not a like sadly that was not like a rare occurrence.
No, I feel like that was the well, there's that Drop Dead show where people literally like multiple people died at that show there
Oh,
because of bad PCP, right?
wow, crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like
I
Kurt Suicide played a show there where someone OD'd one time on PCP or like had a bad reaction to PCP and passed away or something too after the fact or something.
Jesus.
Yeah, like it was that's the thing is like
I
that
do
Inepsy
not.
stuff. Go on, sorry.
Oh no, but I was just gonna say like just adding to the fact that it was like, yeah, those guys were just like that was just like Montreal, like that punk scene was so like chaotic and like but like yet so well run, you know, like and the thing was we always laughed about like when like I remember I'd run into like Steve in Edmonton, like he just like hitchhike across Canada
Well, he'd
and you'd
spend
see him
half
be
the
like,
year,
hey,
right? Like he'd spend half the year living in Montreal and then he'd go to Edmonton and panhandle for the other
pretty
half of the
much.
year. And he'd brag
Yeah,
about this, right? Bum life.
yeah, and it's so funny because I'd be like, I would see him somewhere. I'd be like, "Oh, hey, Steve, it's so great seeing you." You know, like he's like, "Yeah, cool. I need a place to stay." I'm like, "All right, you can stay on my like couch for like the night or whatever." And it's like 3 weeks later, you're like, so like, are you gonna like chip in with rent?" And then he'd be gone.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and we were laughing because so when we did this cover, like obviously like my guitar playing skills are what they are, but I couldn't bust one of the like a Steve or a Shanny solo at all. So I was like, Jonah, we gotta we gotta call in the big guns. And he fucking delivered, man. Like his solo was so good. And we were laughing like because I like so this cover comes together really well. So I'm like, hey, we played a show in Montreal just like you know, like about 4 weeks ago with Baton Arme, and I'm like trying to find like I used to have Shanny's contact, but it didn't didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like asking a bunch of people, like, "Hey, do you guys have it?" And of course, like the Pepins had his like email, and they hooked me up or whatever. But it was funny because I messaged them. I was like, "Hey, Shanny, I haven't seen you in like 15 years. Like, you know, here's this cover we did, you know, and like you know, like love like lots of respect and we're an honor to cover your track and blah blah blah. We just want to show it to you." And it was like the response in the email was like, "Hey man, great to hear from you. Cool cover. Goodbye." It was like after like 15 years, it was like it's like like I'm driving, have aluminum sheets in this van. I like it's like the most random kind of shit. But anyway, um, it was such a funny shanty response that like we were like, well, okay, that's I think he likes it. I think he's happy with it. But then we ended up talking after that, like, and he was we were like, hey, I remember you used to have these like Inepsy because they wanted like some artwork for this thing, and we were like, well, what better way to do it than if we like. So I remember I used to like there was a set list in our house. I have no fucking clue what happened to it, but it was like there was an Inepsy set list where Shanny used to like draw this like bat punk guy like on the set list, and then it would have like all the songs underneath, you know. And I was like, and it was hanging up somewhere or it was on someone's dresser. I just remember looking at it all the time. You're like, that would be so sick if we could just get that like little doodle and just put that as like that could be the artwork. So I reached out to Channy again. I'm like, hey man, like I remember you used to do these like fucking little Sharpie drawings all the time. Like, do you have any of those lying around? Like, we just need something like spontaneous and kind of like, you know, just something quick. Like, you know, don't kill yourself if you don't want to do it. So he responds to me later and he's like, oh, here's something spontaneous. It's like this fucking humongous oil painting that he apparently had like in his living room. And he was just like, yeah, this was going to be the next Inepsy cover, but we're not a band anymore, so fuck, who gives a shit? I'm just like, it's fucking insane. And like you're looking at like it's just so it's really funny to have this home front like fucking Inepsy
I totally
oil
remember
painting.
going to the Loud House one time and he was painting. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was that, but he was a giant oil canvas.
Oh, he had tons of them. Like
Yeah.
and like and I just remember like feeling like, wow, this is such a great moment to like, you know. And then he was like, hey, if you do Street City Kids, I want you to call it Street City Kids in a New Dark Age. And I was like, well, sure, sounds cool to me. Like, but it was just like I just ended up making this like kind of like boner cover that we were just like fucking let's just maybe see if this turns out to being like just a really good moment to like incorporate like all the like I said from that time, like so you get like Jonah on there and you get like Shanny chipping in too. So it's just like it turned out really cool. Like, and we were laughing too because we were like, this solo Jonah delivers is it sounds like if like Fred Sonic Smith had discovered Quebec PCP and like how to like bum a smoke off a buddy or something like that. But it's like uh we were laughing because we were like, oh man, you know, if Steve heard this, he's like, oh, what is this shit?
Yeah.
Like, fuck this.
Yeah. I just like a picture Jonah going in there being like, well, time to play an Epsy. Like
Yeah, pretty
dressed
much.
like Ned Flanders, just
Just crush it. And I was like, holy
crushing the
shit.
thing. But also got the Pepins involved too. Like so you have the whole,
Yeah, get all
like
the like just like I remember just even talking to him and like he came to the show and we were shooting the shit and I kind of played him like the rough mix that we had like pretty much shoved a phone in his brain. It's like sure. And he was just like yeah no he's like he's cool and he like told me like and then he gave me Shanny's email and I was just like fucking it's great to kind of like connect through the Pepins too, so that's always an ace.
yeah, they were at that time probably the best band in this country. Like
Oh buddy, like I mean, there was a lot of good bands like you know going on at that time, but like they were definitely one that like yeah, like you knew when you would see them play, you were seeing something special. You know, like you're kind of like it felt like you were like watching like Discharge, like in you know like Canada's Discharge, and like you know like and I remember seeing like Unruled and stuff, and you'd be like, oh, this is cool, but like fucking seeing like Inepsy like when they were
in
peak
their
with the two
prime.
guitars,
Yeah.
fuck were they awesome. Like just like yeah, it was just like one of those bands. It was just like it was like yeah, and I think those records still hold up like big time. Like going back and like now they're on like heavy rotation again. I'm just like these are fucking perfect albums.
Yeah, like I you know what, like I never saw them have a bad show where people just
Yeah,
weren't
like
like oh my God, this fucking band's amazing.
I remember even seeing them the first time I saw them with as a three piece. This was after like Steve had quit the band and they played as a three piece and I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. And it was fucking sick. Like I remember they were like they still brought the house down like I mean Inepsy was such a beloved band in our city. Like that was like we were talking about Octopus Inc., kind of talking about that world. That was definitely that extension of Inepsy. And I think there was like a hardcore band from Saskatoon, like hardcore punk band called Decontrol, and members lived in Montreal, so they were part of that whole like Loud House community. And so when they moved to Edmonton, it was like there was like that open channel to like Loud House, so that was also like another tie to like the city that we're from. So
Yeah, there was
yes,
it's cool because it's like as big of country as it is, and then like especially in the early years, it feels very disconnected, like
mm-hmm.
between these separate scenes. But it
Oh
felt
for
like
sure,
by the time the '90s were around, like specifically a hardcore, like the scene we're talking about, like
yeah.
it was really connected. Like people were like touring, people were like playing in each other's cities, and like I still have friends,
Mm-hmm.
like obviously you and like
Yeah.
the Pepins, like so many
Oh,
people that I met through this network that I'm still friends
oh,
with.
for sure. For sure. I agree. I mean, there was like, it's funny because there was bands, like regional bands, from the time too that I didn't even reckon, they weren't quite on my radar at the time, but then I listen to it now. I'm like, oh yeah, like Left for Dead, like didn't, weren't, was not aware of
Yeah,
them at the time. And then you listen to it now, and you're like, this is fucking sick.
yeah, because they didn't tour at all, right? Like I don't think
Yeah.
Chokehold ever played Edmonton, did they?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, because I don't
And
know
like,
how west they went.
no, like the only reason we knew about Chokehold was because this tie to this band called Blindside,
Yeah,
and the guy who was in Glory Stompers played with them. But yeah, because then 6 degrees of separation, like John Shannon, didn't he play with Chokehold for a
John
second?
John Sharon played with
Yeah,
Chokehold, and yeah, he played on one of the LPs
yeah.
and stuff.
So
Yeah.
and and he's a legend.
Oh,
Brutal Nights were
absolutely.
so fucking good, and like that was another band that were so good live, like
I feel like the
just fucking.
best band, one of the best bands ever from Toronto, another band that never toured at all, but Teen Crud Combo.
What were they called?
Teen Crud Combo.
No, I'd never
They
heard of
only
them.
have one 7 inch. It's Nick Flanagan before Brutal
Oh,
Nights, Allison Baker, um, and on guitar, and she's like just like ripping. It's sort of like heavily dwarves kind of indebted,
oh, cool.
and
I
it would have
did
been
love Dwarves at that time
oh
too. That
same, and they're just like their single is fucking incredible. Like
wow.
they were like a little bit more kind of like I guess part of the garage leaning side of
Hmm.
the punk scene, but they played with like
You
the
know,
Swarm and stuff.
okay, so there was this band from Toronto. This is maybe a little like this is not to like throw you off, but this was a band that was like huge in Edmonton, but like I rarely ever hear any love for them out in Toronto. But there was this band called Sucker Punch,
Oh yeah,
and they were like Carols from the Canyon was such a good fucking record. And it was like Cramps, but it definitely had more of a like you could tell it was guys who played hardcore punk
yeah,
that were like getting into kind of like lots of flange guitar and like all that kind of like rockabilly kind of shit. And that Sucker Punch LP is still fucking banging, man. Like that is a great record. And it's like that's like one of those jewels that were like, how did this just like you know who I talked about Sucker Punch with because I knew he for sure knew those guys was Dallas from Sadie's
yes, 100%.
and
That's what I
and he
started
was
thinking
just
about.
like yeah they were so fucking good. They just never really I think they just didn't really catch on and then they just kind of did a couple tours and then they just poof and they like vanished.
Yeah,
But
I've
like
got they just split with Armed and Hammered too
that's
back
right.
in the
And the
day.
song that's on the split with Arm and Hammer is so fucking good. But the LP is a banger. And there's
And it goes for
and
a
we
shit ton of money now, that LP.
does it. Oh,
it's
fuck
like
it.
a big money. Glory Stompers records too go for money now too.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I mean, I know especially the double 7 inch. You're just
Yeah.
like, that's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
But like, so I remember seeing Sucker Punch when I was a kid at Punk and Junk, this venue we were talking about, and it was just like seeing a band with like guys with like, kind of like pompadours, but they were like punk, like they were still kind of, it was more like Paul Simonon kind of vibe than it was more Paul Simonon kind of Cramps vibe than it would be like Tiger Army or something like that. It wasn't into that kind of like Lucky 13 kind of thing. It was like more just like it was, you could tell it was like they were just into really cool shit,
Yeah.
like horror movies and like
There was like a all, and like you're talking about earlier with the black metal scene, like maybe that's where all the 9 feet tall people went in Toronto. Like
yeah.
there was like this type of Toronto dude in the mid 90s, Dallas and his brother, I would definitely lump in this category of just like
Oh
these
yeah.
like super statuesque, tall, skinny, unbelievably cool. Like
I
you're saying,
know.
like it's hard to like because like you say a DA cut now, post 90210, post
Yeah.
like all this shit, like it doesn't seem cool, but these guys all
Right.
look like their hair was fucking cool. They all
Everything
played like
about those dudes were
so
fucking
yeah.
cool.
And the drummer from Hockey Teeth, who also was the
Oh,
drummer
Hockey
in
Teeth is a great
Shuttlecock,
band.
the
Oh
Shuttlecocks,
yeah.
which Shuttlecocks was Allison Baker from T Crud Combo before T Crud
Oh, no
Combo.
way. Okay.
But
So I got to check this out.
he was another guy that had this kind of look, and I'd see them all hanging out on Queen Street together or like
Yeah.
at shows, and I'd be like, oh my god, there's no way I
I
could
know.
ever become friends with these dudes ever. Like I'm
Or
just
like
like,
there's no way like you like walk up to them and you're just like, like I'd be like charged hair at the time. I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" It's like
I'm like a
fucking
fat kid in a Pennywise sweatshirt, like, hey
yeah,
man.
it's like, "Oh, here's the hosers," and then these like beautiful men that are just like
Yeah.
just like into so much cool shit and just like and it just like oozes out of their body. And like I remember just like wow, like but it would be so sick because I'd be at like I remember seeing a fucked up show. It was fucked up in Career Suicide. I can't remember what it was. It might have been that what the hell was that place? It was like an upstairs place. Like
Elma Combo.
it was, yeah. And Dallas was at the show, and I was like, hey man, I saw Sadie's like in Edmonton when playing like in some small place, and so I was like shooting the shit with him. I was just like so fucking cool, like seeing him at a hardcore show. There was like vicious pits like at that show in particular. I just remember it was like so much stage diving. Like I was just like, so it was cool that he
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't just like, yeah, I'm just like catching them when they're like, like super huge. It was like when it was like '07 or '08. I think Hidden World had just come out or whatever, and it was
Yeah.
just like fucking
It was funny because like I didn't even know Dallas until he'd been coming to fucked up shows. Like it was
yeah,
so because like I wouldn't even think to, but then like getting to know him and finding out that him and his brother were like totally part of that sort of
totally.
BFG's random killing thing, right? Like,
It's so fucking cool.
but
Like,
yeah, I guess like the obviously the Sadie's being one of the most popular manifestations of it, but also then
yeah.
Big Sugar too.
Oh,
The
Big
guy from
Sugar
Big
had some
Sugar.
jams, and they had that
Yeah.
dude, that like Jamaican guy on bass. Like,
Yeah.
like
They had
this
like
is
it
so
was a
fucking
very
sick.
Toronto band from the 90s, like that whole vibe of like,
But I just remember them being like, and that first record came out, I was like, this is fucking pretty cool, man. Like,
yeah,
and but like, I remember like, yeah, like Zoe, of course, knew everybody. So Zoe was like, oh, like friends with Dallas, and so she introduced me to him, and I was just like, finding out that he was just like totally into like hardcore was like so. And he's like, because I had a Code of Honor pin on my jacket. He's like, oh man, I just got that record. I'm like, oh fuck. Like, and he's just like talking my ear off about Code of Honor. I was just like, this guy is so sick. Like,
oh yeah, no, he would be, oh, he's like a dream. He was like a dream getting to meet him, and like it was kind of like meeting the coolest guy in your high school, like the
yeah,
captain of the football team type shit, and finding out they're actually like the coolest
like
person
coolest dude
imaginable.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and so anyway, of course, so I was like, okay, well, like I knew like I didn't know any of these guys from Sucker Punch, but I just remember seeing them and just being like, there was that kind of vibe. And so when I asked, when I finally like like just shooting the shit about tunes with Dallas, I was just like, oh, do you? He's like, yeah, that band was so good, and he was totally. And I remember like, yeah, we just like talked about them, and they were kind of like a strange, like lost Toronto band in a way. Like
Yeah.
from that, we were talking about these bands that just kind of had like a few seconds and then they were gone. And that was definitely one of them. And I believe the woman who played bass in Sucker Punch also played bass in Armed and Hammered for like a second
I
too.
think you're right. Yeah.
And so anyway, so she seemed really cool too, but I didn't have the guts to go up and talk to her or anything, but it was just like, hey.
My dream has always been to have like a late night radio show just playing obscure Canadian
Oh, I
records,
mean,
because it'd be so sick. There's so many great records from all over the place, right? That
totally. But I mean, it's also really cool that there was like not only just like cool records, but there's also like there was people that were like thought it was important to document it,
yeah,
and like thought it was important to like I'm also so pumped that there is a guy, somewhere in Canada who decided to reissue like the Nerve, like like get that Nerve record and give it a proper reissue. And
yeah.
like I love that. So it's like fuck, that shit now exists, like, and it's like kind of legitimizes like its existence, even though before it was just kind of like a single that you would just hope to one day find, and then if you did find it, some collector in Australia has already bought it for like $2,000 or something. Like, you're like, shit.
I've never seen a copy of that in the wild. I don't
No, I
think.
haven't either. I think the only one I know someone who has is, I know Josh from
Oh, of
uh
course.
like Neon Taste. He's
Yeah,
got a copy of that, but
that doesn't surprise me at all
no,
that Josh would have one. But
yeah,
because how many would there have been of that at that time in Edmonton pressed, right? Like
I don't know. Like at most I could
200?
think is 500 would be
Yeah.
at most, because I feel like pressings were always either like five or 1,000, but it's just like, yeah, no, I would have no idea. Funny story though, the guy who played bass in the Nerve, this guy named Rod Wolf, and he is just like over the top ridiculous human being. Like he's just like crazy guy, like wears flip flops. He's always like, hey guys, I got like a beatnik vibe and got a lot of rings, and I'm just like a cool guy. He was really nice dude, but he so my brother-in-law, so son of Disciples of Power guy,
Yeah.
uh he is like he makes movies with his brother, and they make like these trash bag movies called like, there's one called Private Blue, and then the newest one is called Heat Score. It's about like a male stripper who's has to like sell crack to like, make it in this world or whatever, and it's just like dick pumps and fucking it's just like ridiculous Edmonton landmarks, but it is super funny. And the guy from the Nerve is in both of the
Oh, that's
movies.
awesome.
And one of them, he's like a really shady like landlord, but in the Private Blue one, he's a character called the Pepper King, and he's always sucking on these peppers. It's fucking gross, but it's like that's it's like that's the only guy I know from that band that's still like around, like
Because they're the first punk single, right? Out of Edmonton.
I would say, yeah, I would think so.
That's what Mo's told me. Like
Yeah.
70, is it 80
78, I
or
think.
70? Oh, it's 78.
I think it's 78.
Yeah,
Or
that
79 maybe. I know there was another band from Edmonton that was like kind of a punk band called the Diefenbakers, and I'm not sure, like I've never heard them. Like I know the name, I've seen it on flyers and shit. I've never heard any recorded output, but apparently that might have been even around that same time, so I don't know what was first.
I think it's just after from what
Oh yeah, probably makes sense.
Mo's talked about.
Nerve,
Yeah.
Nerve, like from what I understand, Nerve was a very short time too. Like it was like, I think these guys, like, they were like, I don't know, like when I look at them, it's like, oh, these guys were probably like into some like Pink Fairies type shit, but it's just like they were doing like that weird, like freaky, like kind of like more like freak kind of shit than it
Yeah,
was like
Alice
just
Cooper
straight ahead.
vibe. Yeah.
Totally. Not so much like Screaming Fist, but it would be like more fucking weird, like guys with like, yeah, afros and shit like that. Like
It's
I don't
it's
think Rod Wolf played like with shoes on. Like in the photos, if you look, he's like barefoot on stage. I'm like, this guy is fucking wild to me. Like,
it's funny because like Mo's story about his first show, um, where they're opening up for the Nerve at a biker
Yeah.
picnic in
Oh,
Edmonton is a direct parallel to the first Skulls show that Joey talks about, where they opened up
oh
for
yeah, yeah,
Lou
yeah.
at a biker picnic.
Where they were like they weren't allowed off the stage. The bikers were
Yeah,
like, no, just keep playing.
yeah,
And
and
then like
Lou
the
got
bikers
chased out
didn't
of
like
town.
the
Yeah,
yeah, they didn't like the loot. So like they're like, get the fuck out of here. We're gonna just listen to these hose heads.
apparently the Nerve got the same reaction from the bikers in Edmonton.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I can totally see them hating it. It's yeah, it's like it's wild though when you look at those like first singles from Edmonton, none of them are cheap. None of them are easy to
No.
get, right? Like
Well, because like I mean, I know Ugly Pop did like a reissue of
Modern
Rock and Roll
Minds.
Bitches.
Oh, then they
And they did they also do Modern Minds? Well,
did a
no, they
Modern
did
Minds
the LP.
LP. Yeah.
Right. And that's I mean everything. So that's really amazing that that exists. But yeah, they did the Rock and Roll Bitches, but no one reissued the Malibu Kens.
Yeah.
Like there's some of those ones, yeah, that one kind of went like just like I think that there's see I always kind of feel that like some of the old-timey crew guys that were like involved in bands kind of didn't realize like no one's making money off this shit, so they kind of hold on to it like, okay, you want to make big bucks off this? Like, dude, you're not gonna make big bucks off
Yeah.
this. It's gonna be like this is just like an artifact. Like now it's
Yeah.
just like let's just celebrate the music you made, and you're gonna make someone really happy to have like a copy of this.
Like
And I don't think they understand that. And so I think that's kind of when I was talking about that scattered bodies, I think that's kind of in the same vein. Like Dean is all game for trying to get this fucking thing made, but like and actually what the fuck is the name of the label? Out of New York, they did the early Baytown Arme. I can't remember Roachleg.
oh yeah.
Yeah, Roachleg is trying to get this to
Ah.
happen. So I don't know if they'll
Yeah,
but
it's
I'm sure that I emailed them one time in the middle of the night. Just we have to make this. We have to do this. I will help you. I will track down the tapes, and like that's just been so fucking painful. Like with these guys, like trying to find a way to like get the tape out of the just get it digitized even so that we can like
just
master
preserve
it
it.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, just preserve it. Totally have it like accessible. Like those guys in Calgary, there's like that Calgary Tape Society, and they just like find all the demo tapes that were around from that time, and they just like keep them all. And it's just like that's God's work to me. It's just like those guys are doing a great service because I think that Blindside tape is actually listed on there
Oh, I gotta check that
on
out then.
the Calgary Tape Society, I think. But yeah, you got to hear it. You would love it. It's just like total youth crew before you like around the time of all that. But you could tell they probably love Judge and
Yeah.
like like youth today and that kind of shit.
Was there like an Epiphat scene? Like I guess SNFU kind of gets assumed into that a little
Oh
bit in
yeah,
the
for sure. I
90s.
mean, there was like pop punk was huge here too. Like there was like bands like I mean 10 Second Epic was
Yeah.
kind of in that vein. There was I'm trying to think. There was a band called Belvedere,
Oh yeah, I
but
remember
but I
Belvedere.
feel
Yeah.
like maybe they were from but yeah, so they had but like for Epitaph or Fat, like the only bands that actually got signed that were like from our neck of the woods would have been Chicks Dig It from Calgary,
Calgary. Yeah.
and then Edmonton would have had SNFU, and
Yeah.
that was and at that point SNFU was already living in Vancouver, so they were like that wasn't really like the like that wasn't really like their home base at that point.
Would
But
Snow
yeah,
Jam come through?
Snow Jam was they did, yeah. Snow Jam. I saw the Snow Jam. I went to the one where Sick of It All played. Like for
Oh.
some reason there was a Snow Jam tour and it was like Planet Smashers and whatever and Sick of It All just
Sick.
happened to be on the things. So
Whoa, I
I
don't
went to
even
that one.
remember that year.
Yeah, it
That's
was like two
crazy.
it was before that yours truly. It was like the Fat Records. There was when they were on Fat Records and fuck which anyway, they were awesome. Like Sick of It All were sick. But actually, I saw Sick of It All in Toronto at the Opera House actually, and it was them and No Warning maybe.
Yeah.
And Sick of It All were so fucking good to that show. Like I remember it just being like, wow, this is like I liked them, but after I saw that, I was like, these guys fucking kick ass live. Like it was such a good show.
Was there a crazy fight during the no warning set with like a
Yes,
giant guy?
some guy tried to like some guy pulled a knife and
Yeah.
someone got so when we got in, like when we got to the show, we walked in and there was like this huge brawl just like in the midst of going. I was like, oh fuck yeah. Like, oh, it
Yeah.
seems like a show like Edmonton. I was like,
One of those guys in that fight is one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen. He's an extra in that movie Wrong Turn. He plays like,
oh no way.
or he's
So
like
was did he have like a beard? Like a big beard, like
the
kind
beard.
of
The guy that he was fighting had the beard.
yeah,
Who,
because I saw him getting rushed out the
yeah,
door.
he ended up getting. He was he was fucked up and ended up picking a fight with this biggest person I've ever seen in my life type thing, and it
Just
didn't
trying
end
his hand
well.
at it.
And then he fought the security, and they called the cops, and he fought the cops, and it was
Yeah. Because I
yeah, I
remember
remember
it
that
was like a
night.
thing, and then Sick of It All went on. I was like, "Whoa, this is fucking sick."
Yeah, see
It
what
was
all.
funny, and it was funny. I was there was like we like Wednesday Night Heroes had played the night before in Montreal, and somehow I got this. I was wearing this T-shirt that said like Montreal Skinhead on it, and I was just like wearing this shirt, just like watching, like, and so there's like I saw this photo from that show, and I was like stage I had like Barry Manilow charge and this like Montreal Skinhead fucking shirt.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were that was like yeah, there was like the Snow Jam tour when that would come through. That was to me like that's where I saw SNFU for the first time.
Hmm.
Like I saw
Like Biff Naked and
I don't think Biff Naked ever. No, that was Snow Job, I think, right? Which was like the
oh,
Much
okay,
Music
that's
TV show.
yeah,
Snow
maybe that's what I was
Jam
thinking.
was like Guttermouth. I think Guttermouth in Winnipeg got like forced to leave Canada because they,
Oh, right, because then you like piss on the crowd or something,
yeah, he
like
did
whipped
something
his dick
super
on the stage.
fucked up, and like
Yeah.
the cops like escorted them across the border.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So that was I think that was the same tour that I did see Sick of It All on.
Okay, yeah,
So
Snow
yeah, it was.
Jam.
Yeah. So that does make sense because yeah, there was like those kind of bands were on it. Like fuck, what was it? And it was all like yeah, like Fat Records bands.
Yeah,
Like yeah. I mean Planet Smashers, but I guess Stomp Records and maybe Fat Records. I don't know. They
there
were
was
on
like
that.
Blink 182 played one year. Like
Oh
I think the
crazy.
first Blink 182 tour was on Snow Jam. Reset was
Yeah.
on there because it was organized by Greenland out of Montreal. So there was a lot of those sort of Montreal. What was that label they were all on? 2112 Records, maybe it was called or something.
Okay. I'm
It's
not
like
sure.
Mano Steel, Reset. I've not thought about these bands in a very
Yeah, I
long
mean, like that's definitely going to be like a label. I'll be like, oh, I've never even like that with that world. I don't really know all that well, but um, I knew Reset, and I knew that Reset became Simple Plan, but that's about it. I see that like from time to time. I see that you're pals with like Danko Jones,
Oh yeah,
and like I was like that was a cool show when I was a kid. I saw Danko Jones play with Tricky Woo and what was the other band?
was it Spaceships? No, probably not.
No, but it was like spaceships.
Deadly Snakes, maybe or no?
No, they were maybe they had a video where it was just like a pair of lips, like it looked like the Rolling Stones, kind of
Oh
like
yeah,
Flash Bastard. That was what they were called.
Flash Bastard. Yeah,
Anyway, Danko Jones was like, I think they were like the opener, and I remember being like, I went to go see Tricky Woo because I was like, oh, I've heard this band's really cool. And they sound like MC5 from what I'd been told, so I go to go see them. And I remember Danko Jones opened up. I think they were the first band, and I was just like, "Who the fuck is this band?" They played like Six Pack or something like that, by like Black Flag, and I was just like, "This is fucking like his guitar playing was like insane,"
yeah.
and they were so like tough sounding. I was just like, "Whoa, this is." And then again, you blink, and next thing you know, they were like the biggest thing in Canada at the time or whatever. And
Yeah,
I
it,
think he's had like quite a career since, but
yeah, they're still like ginormous in Europe, and that's where
yeah,
they kind of like tour most of the time. But like another guy, Danko's 100% like a hardcore kid.
totally.
Like
I like I said, like out of nowhere. I just remember like watching this show. I didn't know who this band was at all, and I think that was like prior to them. Like, but if you ever see him, ask him if he like if they covered a Black Flag song. 'Cause I
Oh,
kind of that was definitely what I remember. Like I saw the show, and it was like they were like for like early on the set and or of the show. The other like Tricky Woo was okay, and that other band was like whatever. But Danko Jones like blew them off the stage. I thought they were awesome. Like there
yeah.
was like that's the only time I ever saw them. Oh no way, I saw them when they did that Andrew WK tour.
Oh yeah, the Andrew. They've got like this record that came out, Garage Days, of their like early demos
Oh cool.
around the time of that first 7 inch, and it's like one of my favorite records ever.
Really?
Oh,
Fuck, I should check that
it's
out. I like that's a band I haven't again hadn't really thought about it, but I sometimes will see photos of you with that with the singer guy, and I'm
yeah,
just like, oh, he always looked like he'd be a cool dude. And then I was just kind of like thinking about that show that I saw, and I remember them doing like a fucking ass belting version of Six Pack, like where I was like, I remember we were pitting so hard, like it was like fucking awesome.
it's like crazy to say this because like obviously they do not seem, and they're certainly not from the same sort of worlds at all, but like in the same way as Inepsy
Yeah,
was like just in that era, there was nothing better than, I think, Danko Jones, kind of like earlier on than
yeah,
the Nepsi era, but
yeah,
like seeing them in the like late 90s, early 2000s, where they would just come on stage and just like blow off like whatever fucking band they were playing with, would just
yeah,
get blown
for
off the
sure,
stage,
man.
right? They
Well,
toured with
because
the Makeup, and they toured with like Bratmobile and stuff in the
oh fuck,
States.
Bratmobile, I haven't thought of them forever too. Like these are like wild references. I'm like, holy shit. But yeah, like, but yeah, they were a force, and there was like a reason they became, I think, so big. It was almost like I liken them to like more kind of like when the Helicopters were at like their
Yeah,
best, like by the grace of God era, like that
yeah.
fucking era was so good of the Helicopters. Like I just remember just like always wanting to see them. I never did, but I always thought that that would have been a good tour to see Helicopters and Danko Jones, especially at that time. It would have been like
I think
too much rock.
I'm trying to remember open. I don't think they opened the Helicopters. Maybe they did. Maybe it was Danko Jones, New Bomb Turks, and Helicopters in
Oh
Toronto.
yeah, New Bomb Turks were also good from that era.
So good. That
Yeah.
Destroy Oh Boy record,
Oh, it's awesome.
I think it's one of my favorite hardcore records of the 90s.
I also think that was like the first time I ever heard like Teen Generate. I think they covered a Teen
Yeah.
Generate song, and I remember being like, "What the fuck is this?" And it's like I it was like I love this tune. And it was like, "Oh no, this is Japanese band," and it's like the Japanese version of New Bomb Turks. I'm like, "This is fucking crazy."
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff from that period that I guess I was like, oh, that's just garage rock. I don't know if I really like Danko. I
Right,
liked because it was from Toronto, so it was, to me, it
right,
was like a local band. But New Bomb Turks I didn't really get into until a little bit later. Motards,
right. Motards
Guitar
were
Wolf.
awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
Guitar Wolves were great
Guitar
too.
Wolf I liked, but Motards are like, now I go back and watch videos of them playing. I'm like,
Oh,
this is
they're
like one
so
of the
fucking good.
best bands. Holy
Yeah,
fuck.
I was kind of like from that time. There was like there was like bands like Black Halos and Spitfires and all that kind of sleazy glam stuff that was coming out of uh Vancouver at the time, and it was getting really popular. And it was like, although like like the Black Halos people were really nice, and I really like them. It did not hold up for me as much, but some of the stuff from that era, there was like a couple records that I'm just like, yeah, it's still a fucking banger. And like, yeah, New Bomb Turks is one of them, and Helicopters were like head and shoulders above all of them. And I would actually be very interested to like go back and revisit Danko Jones because like I said, I saw them twice. I saw them play twice, and the first time I saw them, they were like it was early on, and it was like fucking like Greg Ginn style guitar playing with like a lot of single notes going through. It's just like had this really evil vibe to it, and it wasn't so like it was had like a big bravado, but it was like the riffs were so like nasty, like kind of like yeah, like just thinking like some of those more guitar heavy, like not quite blast, but it just like had that kind of power.
Yeah, and that's what the stuff he would have been like listening to. Like he saw Born Against, right? Like he was
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
into hardcore, going to all those shows, and like, and now I've gone back and revisited like some of this stuff, and I actually do like it a lot more. But at the time, I didn't like Robin Black and the
Right.
Intergalactic Rock Stars because to me that was like you were saying, like too glammy. It
Yeah.
didn't have that kind of like grit
Yeah.
hardcore vibe of like Danko Jones or that band T-Crack Combo that were kind of like
Right.
doing like the grittier version of the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just definitely like a wild, uh, like it's just like that. It's funny that that was like a thing too. Like bands, like it was just like so many bands like that, like Super Suckers and like Candy Snatchers and like, I did love Zeke. Zeke was fucking
Yeah, Zeke.
killer.
I saw Zeke at well when we at last time I saw you at Punk Rock Bowling,
Right. And
and best band I think like next to Gauze that I've ever
yeah,
seen. I think
I've been lucky enough to see Zeke like 2 or 3 times, and every time it just blows my fucking head off. It's just like how tight they are, and like it seems like it's going way off the fucking rails, and then it's just like boom, and then they go again. And you're just like, holy shit. The last time I saw him, there was this song, and I cannot seem to find it on which record it is, but there was like this kind of like motorheady slow tune, and it was so good. I just remember being like feeling like like when you're like in the sound, like just like I wish I knew what this tune was, but it was like I remember Pete from Hits and Misses was at the show, and I told him, he's like, yeah, he's like, oh yeah, that's a fucking great tune, man. Like,
yeah, they like I didn't get to see them back then, but like the fact that they're still good, I'm like,
yeah,
this is a like Gauze, the band
yeah.
that never got bad. You know,
I've never seen Gauze. I probably never will, but that would be a fucking amazing gig.
it was yeah, like there's these certain shows like like when we're talking about when you see Inepsy where you just like I gotta take this all in because this is gonna
Yeah.
be one of my favorite shows I've ever seen. And
I gotta say there was one show that I saw in Toronto that it's like one of my go tos, and it was like I think it was like Observers, Fucked Up, Career Suicide, Feel like Brutal Nights also
Bayonets,
played,
I think
Bayonets. It was like a fucking stacked bill, and it was like like a
Clorox Girls
alley.
maybe played too.
Clorox Girls were on
Yeah,
tour with them for sure,
yeah.
and it was I think they were the headliner
Cinecycle. It
actually.
was at Cinecycle.
That was the fucking craziest show.
It
Like
was fucking
it
nuts.
was just like nonsense. It was just so many people rammed into this place, and it was just like I remember just like every band just being so fucking good, and that's when I was like, whoa, like shit is happening. It's gonna like like out of all of that, just being like again, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, fucked up is gonna be huge after a show like that, but it was like so wild that it's just like like a band like you guys were just like blazed a fucking laid waste to like a lot of shit. It was really fucking cool to see, especially in a show like that that was just so. I remember you were like outside talking to the cops to not shut it down,
Yeah,
and
trying to get they shut it down. We got like
then
one song.
observers, yeah, like someone I think observers
Observers
were
played
able to,
before us,
yeah,
and we were like going on, and the cops shut it down. I got in a huge fight with Mike and quit fucked up that night. Actually, like
right, yeah. It was one of the best gigs. Like you
that's
guys were
awesome.
so fucking good that night. Like yeah, like I remember you fucking yeah, you guys like that was just such a good. I remember like when you guys did fuck what the hell is that tune? Uh anyway, yeah, there was a couple moments, but
I
what
think
the
we
hell is
played
that?
just like 3 or 4 songs right before
Yeah,
the cops shut it all down, and
and it was just like madness
it
when you guys
was
played. Like
yeah,
it was like fucking people like flying all over the fucking place.
it was a
Like
weird
I was
ass fucking crazy show, but
But it was like the fact that you couldn't get out, like it was like so squashed in there. I was just like, oh my god, this is fucking crazy.
that's
And
awesome. I
yeah,
definitely it's funny
that
because
was a
like
that was a great Toronto gig because it was like all the heavy hitters on there, and observers were so good at that time too. Like that fucking album was so awesome. And
That was a cool lineup for the Observers too, with like all the guys from Plan B
yeah,
and
oh,
playing
Plan R,
Plan R, Plan B,
yeah, yeah,
Plan
no,
R.
I mean, but like,
Uh,
yeah, it was just fucking, yeah, it was killer. That was a wicked show. And
that was
like I remember Career Suicide barely got through a few songs. It was just like you start playing, then the kick drum breaks, and then this breaks, and then everything's just like, oh, okay, we're good.
at one point. Career Suicide convinced. I think it was Career Suicide by this point. Maybe it was still Board of Education, which was like the pre-Career Suicide
Oh yeah,
band, and they convinced Mark Jared, who played drums in T Crud Combo, to play drums for him. And he's like one of these super tall DA cut Toronto guys, right? Like
yeah,
he's part of this group of dudes, like worked at Rotate, like
yeah, of
it
course.
unapproachably cool. And so they had him playing in their band, which we all thought was like, man, this guy's slumming it. And they went and like took a bunch of garbage from all the fruit markets around because it was in Kensington Market, and had like a fruit fight, and at one point like dumped a bunch of it on him, and he just got up and left. Like, why the fuck am I doing this? He just gets up and
I
leaves.
fucking love that. But that's kind of what, like, I think that was also why we like had such a bond with those guys. Like I was just like, they were just, it's like Toronto. It's like that band School Jerks. Like I just
Yeah.
got a bond with them because it's like you never know what you're gonna get. There's just like fucking madness at the gigs. It's just like so fucking fun.
Yeah, like there that was like a crazy period too, because like, it like felt like all the bands were older or from the suburbs, and then all of a sudden there was just like so many Toronto bands out of
Yeah, and it
nowhere.
was just like, yeah, I remember like it was just like it was fun. Like you would go to those like Not Dead Yet fests, and there'd be all these bands from all over the world, and half the time I'd just be like wanting to see like the fucking bands from Toronto, like because you never get to see them out west. So I
Yeah,
was
like
just like,
I
yeah,
guess Crew Suicide and Us. Did Trigger Happy ever play
Trigger Happy
anything?
played a lot of gigs out. I saw them like a lot of times actually. They came out like they toured with like Furnace. I think they toured with Furnace Face maybe.
Okay.
Uh, Definitely did like a. I think yeah, I remember seeing them with SNFU one time, but it was like a big show. Uh, but yeah, they played. Could have swore they played with SNFU, or I can't remember. There was another. There was a. Or sorry, Furnace Face. I could have swore that was the thing, but maybe not. But I saw them like two or three different times, and they
Yeah,
had that like. I remember they had like the middle finger thing, and
yeah. They had beef
yeah.
with Chicks Dig It. They have a diss song on Chicks
Oh
Dig It.
no way, that would make sense because they were kind of also pop punk, so it was like
Yeah.
Trigger Happy kind of seemed like they were more in like the. I mean, I don't know what they like. I feel like they sound more like, maybe I'm wrong, but like a skate version of like Screeching Weasel or something like that. But
Yeah, I think it's like this weird scene that just kind of, we're talking about stuff that disappeared like
yeah,
Sucker Punch, but they were kind of, I think, a little bit after that, but like kind of like part of that all big drill
right,
car,
totally.
Doughboys.
Oh man, Doughboys were sick too. Like they had
Yeah.
some jams. Like they were great.
I think they're
I
having
never
a
saw.
big comeback.
I saw that Asexuals did like a bunch of shows in Toronto. Like I can't remember how long ago it was, but they were like. I remember Asexuals had played a show, and I wanted to go so bad, and I heard it was awesome.
We played with the
Maybe they played
Dope.
like Bovine or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think
Like a
Castner
weird.
was Castner playing with them again, or
Yeah, it was
oh, it
like
was. Oh,
all like it was like full original lineup.
well, that's crazy. I saw the Doughboys when they did that brief reunion. The Foo Fighters got them to get back together.
Oh, great! Oh, that
Uh,
would make sense.
yeah, and they played Toronto and Montreal, and we played those shows, and it was
Oh,
like
cool.
crazy seeing the Doughboys. Like,
I saw Doughboys in Halifax in like '92, like right when Crush came out,
damn.
and they were like, I was like, well, this is cool. Like me and Luke went to the show, and it was at Birdland or something like that in Halifax, and they were fucking awesome.
Yeah, because that would have been kind of pre that Halifax music explosion, which kind of gets
That
comes
was kind of
right there.
happening at that time.
Okay,
Actually, a funny story. I'll tell you. Like, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but this
dude,
one really funny.
what am I gonna do but sit around in this basement anyway?
Yeah. So I have this really funny Chris Murphy story from Sloan. So when we were kids, we had this like we were jamming at our like buddy's place. Like his parents were, and then I remember he was kind of like this, kind of like I don't know. We just like forced him into our band because he was like he had a drum set, but he was like into like playing football and doing all this shit. So he had a football practice and he's like, okay, well, we're going, so you can't stay in our house. So like sent us out to like the neighborhood. So we're in this neighborhood of this like, like part of Edmonton, and we're just like walking around, just like talking shit, just like being fucking losers. And we're like, we found this like like I don't know how this business had wronged us or something like, but we're like, okay, let's just smash all the glass with by throwing rocks at their lights. They had these lights, and we'll just break all the lights. This like dumb kid shit. As we're doing this, and this van pulls like down the street, and I look, and so these guys are like looking at us because we like look like fuckheads, and we're just like throwing rocks at this like building, and guy who looks over is I'm like, that looked like Chris Murphy from Sloan. Like, because I was aware of who Sloan were at the time. And this van drives by. I'm like, oh, that's really weird. So then, of course, got nothing else to do. So we're kind of got tired of throwing rocks. So we're like, let's walk around the neighborhood and see if we can find this van. So we walk around. Sure enough, we find this van. It's like parked in front of this house. So we're like, oh, do you think like Chris Murphy's in this house? We're like, oh, he might be. I don't know. So we're like kind of walk around. We go through the back alley, and sure enough, they're having like a barbecue, and we're just like these, and it is Chris Murphy. And we're like, oh fuck, but we're like want to like hang with them, but we're just like just kind of walking back and forth like down the alley, like they're just like okay. So finally, like my buddy gets the courage to be like, "Hey, are you Chris Murphy?" Blah blah blah. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, you're in Sloan." He's like, "I am, but I'm here with like this band Super Friends. So, do you guys want to come in and have a barbecue with us?" And I was like, as soon as he said come in, I was like, fucking mosh through the fucking gate. Just like load up and like I remember the dad there was like, "Oh, these kids must be hungry." Because I was just like, like eating like a fucking dick. Anyway, so Chris Murphy's there, and he's like, "Oh, so what's going on in Edmonton?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's like some cool shit going on." Like trying to be like cool, but I'm like 13, fucking lying to him, like telling him some story about like, "Oh yeah, who's a cool promoter? Oh, this guy, fucking Jody. He's got Jody's house, Defiance play there, no big deal." Like, like okay, let's book. And I remember watching him write this down in this little book he had of like places. I was like, oh fuck. So anyway, so we hang out. They played a show in Edmonton. We didn't go to the show. We just like went back to just terrorize the neighborhood like idiots. So we fast forward a couple years. So this is now the year that we were out in Halifax, and I like it was they were on a family trip, and so me and Luke went and saw Doughboys, and after that, there was like just so happened Sloan was going to break up because they were doing that Twice Removed record was I think burnt them out, and I think they were going to break up, so they were going to do their last show in Halifax. So my little brother Sandy, he's like, I want to go to the show, and I was kind of like now old, too cool for this shit. I'm just like, fuck that, fuck you, And my mom's like, no, you're gonna take Sandy, you're gonna go to the show. So like so, like pissed. So I go there, and the show is so packed, and it's like this same venue we saw Doughboys in. And so we're walking around. I was wearing this like long sleeve like Black Flag t-shirt, and Chris Murphy's like, "Hey, were you the kid in Edmonton?" And I was like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Yeah, you're the kid that was like we saw. You kind of invited yourself in for this barbecue." I'm like, I was just like, "Yeah." And then he's like, yeah, that was fucking hilarious. You guys just like came in and tore it up. We're like laughing about this. He's like, hey, do you want us to play anything tonight? This is gonna be like our last show. Do you want us to play? And I'm like, yeah. Can you play "No Reason" by Minor Threat? Like, I don't know why I said that to him. Like, no, don't give him a Sloan song. Just say, yeah, play "No Reason" by Minor Threat. Like, whatever. So then Sloan goes on stage, and they're fucking playing. They're doing like a killer set. Like they are fucking bringing it. It's like they're playing all the stuff from those first two records and like all the singles and shit like that. It's like this is great. But of course, I'm still trying to be like Mr. Punk, so I'm just like, yeah, I'm not too into this, you know. But it was great. Then they go, oh yeah, hey, we just want to dedicate this song to this kid that we saw in Edmonton who came all the way out here. He said he wanted us to play Minor Threat, so here it is. And they start playing No Reason, like like a fucking obscure Minor Threat tune. And I was just like, holy shit. I like just like lost my mind and started like fucking moshing, like going, trying to like stage dive and getting almost thrown out. But I always thought that was so cool of Chris Murphy to like give the time of day to like some little boner, but also like do something like that. That was fucking like, I still think about that. I'm like, wow, that is fucking so cool. I never really met him since. Like I haven't, but I would love to ask him about that, you know.
Oh,
But
you better believe I'm texting him
yeah,
in the group chat about this afterwards because
oh, you
that's
should, man, because
amazing.
that was a big like. I was like, wow, Chris Murphy is like god tier now for me. Like I've always been like, that guy is fucking legit cool. And now, like now that I'm a little bit more sure of myself, I have no problem saying that I am a fan of Sloan. Like I like they're fucking great. And I think what they've done with their career has been really cool. And they've always had cool taste in music. And yeah, I remember them, like when we were talking with them, he was telling us stories about going to the Discord house and like DC, and I was just like, fuck, so cool. And I remember he's like, check this band out. He wrote on a piece of paper Mega City 4. So
That's amazing.
yeah, so that's I remember that's how I fucking heard that band.
That's fucking awesome. I My first encounter with them was they had moved to Toronto and I was in high school and there was like a cafe and Jay and Chris were there and they must have been going through like promo photos. And so we started sending notes to them through the like the staff, the wait staff
Mm-hmm.
there. And I was like, were you guys into punk and all this shit? And then they didn't write back right away. So we wrote like a super mean note and we're like, yo, if they give you a note back, don't give them this mean note. And the mean note was like, you fucking rockstars don't even write back to us, all this shit. So the person comes back and they're like, here's a note, but I gave them the other note. And we're like, no. And the note was like, hey, is it too late to write you guys back? And like they gave us like one of their promo photos and all this shit. And like, and then
Oh man.
then she she came back again. She's like, they got another note for you. And it was just suck me, Sloan.
Sick.
And I wish I had kept that note so badly. But then like
I know.
years later, I'm at same sort of thing. Like I'm at a house party for Three Gut Records or something, and Chris is just in the back. They're doing like people are doing like Neil Young covers, and I start yelling out like 7 second songs and like
Of
weird songs,
course.
and he's just busts into all of them. Like he knew all of them off by heart, right? Like they're like another band, right? They're all punk hardcore kids.
Well, it was so funny because they were like, let's do, they're like, and we're gonna do No Reason. I remember he starts playing, they do the first verse, and they get to the chorus and they're like, and I was like, whoa, they're like, and then they kind of fell apart. But I
Yeah,
was like, that like fucking blew my head off. Like also it's not exactly like the most well known, like it's not like a top tier Minor Threat. I love that song. Don't get me wrong, but it's such a weird one to just check, and then they just like knew it
yeah, it's not
and fucking
filler, right?
yeah.
Like
It's not like it's not filler. Or when I was a kid, it's not fuck you.
yeah, yeah,
But it was like yeah, it wasn't like the instant classic. It was like off out of step. It's kind of like like it's a deep cut and it's a
yeah.
fucking great song. But it's like I just remember watching them do that, and I think about that as an adult now, and I'm just like wow, that's fucking. I don't think I would ever know to do any of that shit. Like, recognize some just like kid, just like like I don't think I made that much of an impression, but maybe it was just like one of those things where we were just dumb enough to like make
He
his
like
day. I don't know.
yeah, he's got a crazy memory for
Yeah,
stuff too.
I would. That would be
And
so funny. So if you ever
I will
tell him, be like,
definitely. Oh my god,
yeah.
I was at his
So,
house not too long ago, and he actually played me uh Patrick from Sloan's like first punk band,
oh, crazy.
and it's one of the
Because I always
cool.
thought like
It's so
I always
good.
thought he was like the punk in the band. I
They
mean, they all were, but
yeah, they kind of all were like they all were at like, to varying degrees, but I think like Patrick and Chris were like hardcore kids.
yeah,
Kind of different stripes. I
right.
think, but like Patrick's band is like fuck, it's good.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Oh
like
fuck, I got.
it's crazy. Like one of those bands that's like, and I don't want to overhype it by saying this because obviously it's not on that caliber musically, but like Void or United Mutation,
Oh,
like a weird outsider punk band kind of
oh
vibe.
fuck. I mean, I love that shit. Like
Same.
I love that like crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like sounding like you're like, what is this? Like we're talking about mutant music. That's
Yes.
both those bands are mutant music. Like where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
It's funny because like Faith is a good band, and I think on their own they're really good. But like being on a split with Void, it's just like I do like I like when I was a kid. I think I would first always listen to the Faith side, but like as I'm older, I'm always just Void, like always.
yeah, like I feel like it's a massive disservice for that Faith recording to be the split with the Void thing.
Yeah,
Because if it
I
was a
agree.
7-inch, it would be like one of the greatest singles.
Agree, man. Like
Yeah.
they kind of just like the fact that they end up being like the other band on like a titan of a record.
Yeah.
Well, talk about a great local scene, but like having those two bands on a thing was cool. But Faith are very safe sounding, and Void are just like sound like they're from like they're like people who survived a serial killer kidnapping.
Yeah. There's like, it's rare that you get a split where both bands are of equal
Yeah, totally.
displays of their power on the record, right? Like
Yeah,
crossed out man is a bastard split. Like there's just like
yeah,
records where you're like, oh man, you picked the wrong band to have a split with, to be honest with you.
yeah.
Like
Fucking totally, man.
what's the Neanderthal? I don't even know who the other is on the other side of the Neanderthal
Oh, I didn't
split.
even. I don't even know the one Neanderthal,
There's a
the black one with the
there's a
like
split
the big
7-inch
font.
too. Maybe it's Rorschach. I don't know. I'm talking to my
I
asshole.
always kind of felt like. I mean, I'm not the biggest Neanderthal fan, but I remember just like looking at that record and being like, "This has got to be the evilest shit ever," and just like,
Yeah,
like that is just feels like you're gonna get beaten up. Like listening to that record, like
yeah. Like those records, like those early Slap Ham records, like
yeah,
hearing them for the first time, being like, "Oh, I don't know. This might test my taste level," and just like then realizing, like, no, these are the greatest bands of all time. Like
mm.
these.
I was always so jealous when you would tell me about how you got to see like Gordon Soley and all those
Oh,
fucking
no,
Cleveland bands.
I didn't see Gordon Soley. I saw Nine Shocks, and I never saw
But you
Gordon.
saw them in Cleveland though, right? Like,
I saw Puncture Wound in Cleveland.
oh yeah, and you were.
Josh from Fucked Up saw the last Gordon Soley show.
Oh right, okay. Sorry, I got that
Yeah,
mistaken. But
I wish
I
I'd seen
remember
that.
hearing the story of that show, and I was like, and I've seen footage from the show like on YouTube and stuff, and I'm just like, buddy, that would
When
have been a fucking insane show.
Tony Erba tries to pull like a blade job with like a Rambo knife,
Oh,
and his whole like face almost
oh
falls
my
off.
god!
It's like, oh fuck,
I know,
like
man.
crazy, like
Yeah, some fucking
like
evil ass shit, man.
yeah, like you're glad people don't do that now. I'm glad
No,
people don't.
unless like they're known for, oh, we're the band that does that. Okay,
Yeah,
like you get it, but back then you just never knew what you were gonna get. You would just be like, oh fuck, okay, here we go. This
yeah.
guy's now doing this. Now there's a cinder block from flying through the air. Like,
First time I saw Random Killing, my friend and I snuck into the show at the Ronergy Christmas party, and the bass player smashed his bass and started crying on stage. It
what?
was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And like to this day, it's like one of the most impactful. You like you're saying, like you didn't know idea what you're gonna get. Like I went there.
They're like patios and beer all summer long.
He
He's like,
smashed his bass to a trillion pieces and then gathered them all up. And I guess they put it back together or he got it
whoa,
reassembled. Someone told me afterwards, but I just remember. And also,
whoa,
like when you see a guitar that's still plugged in being smashed and it's sparking and all this
yeah.
shit, you're like, what?
It's like holy shit.
What is this going on? I just showed up to see the band that I saw open for Pennywise.
Yeah, I just saw the band from Mike Bullard, so
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Most TV famous. Well, We've talked for a long time, as I knew we
Yeah, dude.
would. And Graeme, anytime you want to come back on this podcast and
Oh,
talk, anything,
honestly, you're like a fucking dream. Thanks so much for having me. I'm just like so like it's like these are the types of friendships that I love that we've held for so long. And yeah, man, yeah, I'm always over the moon to see you, and I'm always so fucking pumped with all the shit you've been doing for your whole career. I guess putting in that word in there is weird, but it's just like, man, just like your body of work is so fucking great. And yeah, and like Homefront is always forever thankful for the fucked up boys and girls, and it's just like such a great crew. And so like I'm just happy that we've been friends for like over 20 years.
well, don't forget us and have us open for you one time then.
Oh yeah, right.
No,
Yeah.
it's been so great to finally do this with you because yeah, we've known each other forever,
Yeah,
and always felt like a really strong kinship with you, and like yeah, just to see everything that's happening with Homefront and just like loving the band. And I was telling someone the other day, I was texting with a friend of mine, and I'm like, it couldn't be happening to a nicer group of people, like
oh thanks, man.
as people, and just like everything about it. It's like good people, bad band is like a cliche, but like it's rare that you
Totally.
get amazing people, amazing band. So that's what I
Yeah.
really feel with Homefront.
Yeah, man. Fuck yeah. Thank you so much for having me.